So yeah, so welcome. We'll get into official welcomes and stuff for the recorded version. Once I have a co-host, at least. Um, but something important to note, beforehand, I might as well put out there. Um, the Boo is not going to be joining us tonight. Unfortunately, he has actually caught the coronavirus, and it has uh made him very like tired and everything, so he is unable to really you know join us without having all the tiredness and all that. So yeah, it sucks, but he's doing fine. He's not going through like hell. He had a fever for 2 days, and he is on the mend. We actually hung out the other night, playing Payday together. That was fun. But yeah, how is stream quality? Please let me know. Can you hear me fine? Um, can you see things fine? All that. Uh, Because that is something. Oh, also, I should pull up you guys. Chat is here. This is gonna be the new part of the stream or the show as well. We're gonna have you guys on the side. So when you say stuff, oh, it kicked me out of the Discord. Um, when you say stuff, you'll be showing up, and we can talk about it. Let me stop ringing. I don't want to wake him up. Okay. But yeah. Uh, so yeah, he's doing fine. Don't worry about him. He'll be on the stream, on the future shows when he's actually able to. No issues at the moment. That's good. That's good. Sorry, it took me a while to do that. Yeah. Okay. So, fuck it. We'll just, I'll just, welcome to Table Talk, discussion and discourse. I, as always, am your host, Alejo, aka Great on 95. Um, I'll keep everything in that I just said anyway. Um, but yeah, uh, he is, let's see. Hopefully Aiden's coming. Well, Aiden will be here as soon as he can. He was waiting for food, and he should be on his way once he has food. Unfortunately, I probably will keep the um I'll keep the Discord profile gone at least. Um Once it honks out again, until I get the message from him that he's here so that we can actually discuss stuff. But today we are going to be talking about realism in D&D. Um and there are a few videos. I went through a rabbit hole again, because I was like, we haven't really talked about specifically realism. I don't think we talk about it every now and again. Just in other podcasts, it's just a kind of a thing that we all enjoy a lot. Um, I think it's a nice thing to have in your D&D sessions personally, because it allows you to ground it a bit more. Because, like, yes, fantastical elements and all that stuff, there are dragons and all that, obviously, but having um, the realism there to say, hey, uh, we are also not able to carry, like, 16 different things of, swords, you know, because that's kind of weird occasionally, um, but it can be, it can be fun to play that way, and so I have no issue inherently with um less realistic uh games. But I think there is something to be said about keeping at least a modicum of it, you know? But of course, this all varies on your table and who uh, or and your what your players want and what your DM is capable of doing or is willing to do, I guess, as well. Um, so let us, you know what? Let's start with a smaller video. Why not? I don't want to start. That's the thing. I don't want to start yet without my co-host. Cuz I can't bounce off of him. And I don't know the delay as well on chat. So basically if you could to give me an indication, could you say hello once you hear this? That would be nice. Wow, not that long of a delay. Okay. That's pretty good. Interesting. You know, that's surprisingly um shorter than I thought. Very cool, very cool. Let me then, because there's a few options that you can do with um YouTube streaming where there's low latency. You can't see it anymore. There's low latency, there's ultra low latency, and then there's a delay option. And basically just trying to figure out what the best setting would be. I don't know if I can change the latency on the fly. Let us see. This is, like I said, this is going to be super on brand just because we we are the most professional podcast, obviously. So this is this is just how it goes. Can I change the latency through this? Let us see. Yep. Okay, cool. So in future we might try ultra low latency just to see how that goes. But we will check next time. So I guess while we're waiting, I will inform you guys of a few things. This is going to be a more regular thing in addition to the podcast being put up on Friday afterwards. This stream of the actual live session will be archived, but it'll be unlisted, so you won't be able to see it until it goes up on Friday. And with Friday, I will actually be putting it through my Vegas editor so that it's at least better quality. I don't know, but I am recording at the same time, so hopefully it will be a bit better. So that will continue to happen. The Monday audio podcast will also continue to be the same thing. It's just going to be a lot more live, technically, in the sense of having been pre-recorded, but we did it live, so, you know. Okay. Sorry about that. So, actually, it would be interesting, since you guys are in the chat right now. Do you have any experiences with realism in D&D that you would like to share, like good, bad, you know, all that? Because I would like to know what you guys prefer. Do you want realism or do you want that more fantastical, like not superhero, but you know what I mean? It's less it's just less real, you know? More fantastical. Because I play a campaign in 5e on Wednesdays. And in that we don't really use like Encumbrance, really. Like, there hasn't been many instances where I've felt it to be, like, super realistic. Because we don't track weight, we don't really worry about, um, like, travel, I guess. It's weird, right? Because with using realism, there's a balance that you want to do, obviously, because it is a game. And you don't want to make it just a life sim unless you're into that, in which case, like, yeah, cool, do it, right? Um, but specifically for things like 3.5, there are examples of, um, in the DMG2, because they had multiple DMGs in 3.5. Very interesting. Um, in the DMG2, you had um the rules to run a shop of some sort. And you know what? I'll pull it up. Hang on. I'll pull it up. I'll pull up my PDF that I have. That we can look at together, so you can actually look at something on the screen as well. And 3.5 is the thing that I go to usually. While not specifically D&D, realism wasn't too terribly regarded in my limited experience in what I've played. Okay. But, so, and I guess my question for you, Vortex, is, do you want more realism? Is that something that you would think is, that would add to your experience? Because there's a lot of ways to do it very subtly that I feel would be, beneficial, I guess. Like, something that is overlooked a lot, and I know I'm going off topic again, but, weather is really something that I see that's overlooked a lot, you know? As long as it doesn't make the game less fun, I'm good with whatever. Okay. See, now this is an interesting territory, right? Because what would it mean for you to have it be less fun? Because that could mean a majority of things, and for you specifically, would it be like bogging it down a bunch? Would it be like looking through rule books too much? Like, what does that mean? Right. I was looking for my player's handbook too. Or not player's handbook, Dungeon Master Guide 2. There it is. Opening. There it is. Okay. So, let me get to the page real quick. Get over. Let's see. It was like 100 and something. It's an NPC agendas. Here, I'll show you what I'm. There you go. So we got establishments, PC organizations. It might actually be part of this. Characters? Running a business. 180. So, running a business. Okay. Is realism the same as immersion? It's an interesting question. I would say it can be. It depends, right? Does playing a game that is more realistic, would that make you more immersed? Would you find that if you are tracking, I guess, your carrying capacity, right, with encumbrance in a game, would that make you feel more in the character's shoes? That's an interesting question. I'll definitely bring that up when Aiden gets here. I haven't quite played enough to fully know, but my best way of putting it is, as long as the game doesn't become too slow or needlessly restrictive. Okay, gotcha. So then, okay. Well, we have some examples that might be interesting to look at. There's the video that we're going to be covering first is quite an interesting one to look at, because the rules for D&D makes some interesting things apparent. But anyway, sorry. So what I was going to start talking about is in 3.5, you had these rules that came in the DMG2, which are about running a business. Now, your business can be a bunch of different things. It can be a criminal organization, it can be a fighting school, a service of some sort, for any kind of profession you have, a shop, a tavern, um, anything like that. You had these skills that you had as your primary skill that you could use in order to go through. It was like business checks, right? In a way, because you would then use those checks to to figure out how much money you made in the week. There's also a random business encounter table, I think. Uh oh yeah, profit check modifiers here. Give me a second. It's got to be here somewhere. Yeah. Business related encounters, and let me actually make the window a bit smaller so that you guys can see everything that I'm seeing here. I think it's like there. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So, yeah, you had these things, business related encounters that you could do, where this is just stuff that could happen during your business time, right? You could have a monster encounter. You could have banditry. You could have a wounded adventurer come into your shop. This is just a bunch of like good competition, a booming business, or unexpected taxes, a protection racket. It's a bunch of random stuff that you could have happen if you wanted to roll on a table and your DM didn't want to just like come up with it on the fly. There was a bunch of stuff that you could do for businesses. And I know this is specifically businesses and not necessarily realism as a whole in D&D, but there is something to be said of having these rules in place that allow you to have this guideline, right, that you can follow, that makes it so you have the ideas to run a business, right? Oh, thank God. Oh, I didn't mean to call just you like that. Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
Just got home. How?
Wow. Well, hey, we're live right now.
Oh, hello. I, as always, am your host, Sneaky Adolf. I have a pizza.
Oh,
Yay. Oh.
well, enjoy your pizza. I've been talking about 3.5 and its realism.
Hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I've been talking specifically about businesses
Okay.
in the sense of running your own business in 3.5 and all the rules that you can find in the DMG2.
Something that I have no experience with.
I have not played it, but it is very fun to like look at and theorize about, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, oh, so yeah, we got people in the chat. Pizza Funk asked a really good question that I thought I would run by you as well. Because I was
Mm-hmm.
talking about realism and if people wanted that and how that, if it would enhance your experience if you had more of it, right? And Pizza Funk asked, "Is realism the same as immersion?"
Mm.
And I wanted to run that by
So
you to get your thoughts.
I would say that the two of them can have a lot of overlap.
Mm-hmm.
They are not equivalent.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that where realism differs from immersion is that even if something is fantastical and does not make sense in the physics of our world, if it is represented well in sort of a campaign and continues to remain sort of a rock solid facet of that campaign's world, then you can have something that is not realistic but still feels immersive.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I was basically posing the question of does like something like an encumbrance thing, does that make you feel more in tune with your character, right? Like, would that help you get into the shoes? And that I feel depends on the person.
Yeah, that not usually for me. It
Right.
does for, like, say, Boris,
Sure.
but most of my characters not.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I in 5e, right? Um, it's an optional like rule. It's a variant rule,
Mhm.
and you calculate it quite easily. It gives you it's on page. Let me get it for you. Page 176 of your player's handbook, of 5e. Um,
Mhm.
it's your carry weight is second. Use this. Ignore equipment. Okay, so if your carry weight exceeds 5 times your strength score, you are encumbered, which means your speed drops by 10 feet. If your carry weight exceeds 10 times your strength score, up to your maximum carrying capacity, which I don't remember. Oh, here it is, which is your strength score multiplied by 15.
Like,
Um,
yeah,
you are
15. Thought it was
heavily
10 for some reason.
yeah, you are heavily encumbered, which means your speed drops to 20 feet, and you have disadvantage on everything, really. Ability checks, attack rolls, saving throws that use strength, dex, or constitution. Um, and so I haven't seen. I mean, I haven't used it, and I haven't heard. Like, a lot of people seem to not like encumbrance or carrying capacity or all that stuff, just in
Yeah,
general.
I had, a session 0 last night for a campaign, actually,
Mhm.
and one of the things I forgot to mention that one of my players was so kind to remember for me was to ask, um, "Do we have to worry about encumbrance?" And
Mm.
I said, basically the equivalent of, "If we get to a point where someone is like a walking retail store,
Yeah,
sure, we'll
that's fair.
start to worry about it then, but for now, don't worry about it."
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I
I'm also
usually.
very
Oh,
I'm
go on.
also very happy to see, a Shadiversity video. I love Shad.
Yes, that is the first video we're gonna be covering, and we might as well get to that because I was just kind of talking about businesses just as a
Alejo, would
thing.
you be so kind as to fetch me a link to the stream so that I may
Yeah,
also watch chat and read
yeah,
questions?
yeah, yeah. That should be a link to it. Nope, that's wrong.
No.
Don't worry about that. That
Also, where
wasn't
did I put my pen?
okay.
There it is.
Give me a second.
Let's find
Ba-ba.
out if ink spills all over my desk. Hey!
What?
I said, let's find out if ink spills all over my desk.
Oh no. There you go. Okay,
Nope.
so let's get into main thing of the video. Before we start the videos, actually, there was something that I did want to cover. Um,
Yes.
we got some comments. Comments, good. So last stream. Wow, I'm already there.
Mhm.
Brain. Last
Mm.
podcast.
No, no, this is the second stream. You
Mhm.
all missed out on the first one.
Yep, absolutely. Last podcast we talked Pathfinder with Basics for Gamers, and we looked at the entirety of the Puffin Forest review on Pathfinder 2e. Bad video. If you haven't watched it, please, if you would. It's we suffer for you
It's
as
an
we do.
experience.
It is an experience. So let's go over a couple of comments. So these are a couple more from our subscribers. Basics for Gamers himself commented on it and said he used the wrong microphone, and I was just like, next time though,
Yes.
you'll have the better microphone. Anyway, so in the video, um, Puffin puts a lot of weird examples forth that are weirdly disingenuous, I guess. Um it really
No,
felt. Hmm?
the term I was gonna use is One might almost call them disingenuous until you said it for me.
Hey, um, they were really weird, and they made us just question what his intention was with the video. And we got a comment from Ronald Sanfran. It says, I'd say that his argument is done in bad faith, and I'm guessing that he's not a paid shill, which I don't know if we said that. Did we say about him being a shill? I hope not.
We did not.
Yeah. If that was
I actually read
implied,
this comment.
okay. If that was implied, that's not what I think.
Mm.
I don't think he's shill. I think he just likes
I
D&D way more.
Yeah, I outright stated that his fan base that gives him money by watching his videos is a 5e fan base.
Hmm.
I would not quite call that him being a shill, though.
Yeah. Anyway, so good. I'm glad we're on the same page. He's not a paid shill, but that the complexity bothered him, and he wants to find a way to justify his decision to leave Pathfinder 2e. He says he's a player that often shows up to a game without leveling up his character sheet after all. Oh, yeah. That was a weird point. Or weird thing to bring up. It just doesn't I don't know how you could do that, right? I thought leveling up was like one of the best parts for most players.
I mean, I'm not really partial to it one way or the other. For me, it is just like, okay, we have leveled up now.
Well,
'Cause
a lot of people I find go, I get new thing, which
yeah,
makes them happy.
which can be nice, but
Yeah,
for me, like, I play D&D for the story, right?
that's fair.
Um,
Yeah.
I get the same sort of dopamine buzz when an enemy crits on someone in my like party
Mhm.
as I do when I level up.
Oh, okay.
So for me, it's far more likely that I'm going to get that little buzz of like, ooh, this is a development, uh, just in general, than during actually leveling up.
Yeah, that's fair enough. He goes on to say, what is further perplexing is that soon after this, he DMs a game on his channel of D&D 4th edition, which is less complex than Pathfinder, less complex than Pathfinder 2e it is not. So apparently 4th edition is way more complex.
This is truth.
I don't know anything about it really. If Boo was here, he would tell us about it probably.
I know what Boo has told us or has told me
Yeah.
rather. And like, fuck, dude, like, you wanna talk about, role-playing game versus role-playing game?
Oh, okay.
4E is a lot of math and a lot of conditions.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Huh. So yeah, overall, it feels like his argument is done in bad faith. Yes. I don't know why he did that. It's very strange.
I actually agree with the commenter. I think he just didn't like it and wants to justify his decision.
Oh, well, yeah, that's also the case. Come to think about Puffin didn't come to think about it, Puffin didn't bring up character sheets at all in that video, which there is a Pathfinder 2e specific sheet out there. Or that's from Pizza Funk. Yeah, he didn't really. So we were talking about it, and we were like, if you just add up your modifiers on your character sheet, that solves so many problems that you have with your math,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
Like doing your quick simple math, and
What, you mean you don't calculate it, like, on the fly every time?
uh, uh, I guess I'm supposed to. I don't
I
know.
was I I was actually kinda reminded of it when I was playing D&D, Sunday evening,
Oh, okay.
because, someone asked me, how I had a +5 to hit an enemy, and I went, "Ah," and then I looked at my sheet, and it just says +5/1d10, and I went, "Ah," and then I went, "Oh, right, strength proficiency, and it's a +1 weapon." Um, because I'm just so used to at this point, it's just like, just roll a d20 and add 5.
Gotcha.
So, like, if I can do it, you can do it too, Puffin.
Yeah, I don't know what that whole video is about. Anyway, with
I'm
the
not a
math.
smart man. I've never claimed to be.
Exactly. So secondarily, we have Unit Rico giving us another comment. In fact, he's giving us a paragraph. No, sorry, several paragraphs.
Stream must not have updated for me.
It is up now, probably.
Ah, there it is.
Yeah. The latency is not that bad, which is nice. So he says there are so many things you could do in Lord of the Rings Third and Fourth Ages. This was a point that was brought up by Puffin in his thing about how he was unable to really put things into specific time periods just because the story was being played out at the same time, which was really weird to have as a point. The Battle for Middle-earth 2 has 3 campaigns. Okay, 2 of those are sort of the same, just from 2 different perspectives, but still. Worth of missions, and I'm pretty sure none of those intersect with the main story of the books at any point. Tolkien also started on a sequel that he never wrote more than a handful of pages for. Aragorn and his heirs had also had several campaigns in the south and east to fight the evil men there. A fake? And there's still 2 wizards whose fate we never found out. Yeah, absolutely. You have inherent plot hooks that you can go for with Lord of the Rings, definitely. So it makes it so that you can just homebrew up a story that involves them.
Alejo.
Ah.
A fake is an initialism for as far as I know.
Oh. That makes more sense. Hey, I'm a smooth brain, okay? I only
Like, I was just sort of sitting there
Yeah.
vibing. I'm like, yeah, and then I hear a fake, and I went, wait, no.
Okay. Yeah, that's why I was very confused while I said it. Okay. Well, anyway, so yeah, like I was saying, you don't. To be fair, you don't even need any of the material that Tolkien made. You don't need. You can just make stuff happen, right? Like, yes, Tolkien made a sequel that, or started making a sequel that he didn't finish, but to be fair, you don't need to use the author's works, right?
Like, the Lord of the Rings is primarily like a setting, right?
Yeah.
No one's holding a gun to your head and telling you you can only make an arc about this.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, people make stories all the time. I'm making a story for my world that's completely homebrew.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just a strange point that he brought up of like, it's hard to make homebrew in a setting that's already pre-written or pre-existing. It's like, no. Literally, Rogan, our friend, Nonat, he loves using Faerun. He'll just make random shit up because that's what he does, and it's fun for him, right? And it has nothing to do with anything that's going on in like Waterdeep or Neverwinter or anything. Like, he literally, we were talking about this the other day, in fact. Oh, you had a point?
No, I was just unmuting.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Because I no longer had chicken wing in my mouth.
Oh. Anyway, he continues. Another option, this that may be a bit harder for Lord of the Rings in particular. For legends about ancient heroes, you can even do what they did in Dark Souls 1's DLC and have your party fix the big problem, only to have some other guy be hailed as the hero in the story history books. You still get to play the adventure, and the lore of what actually happened doesn't get in the way. Yeah, that could be a way. Yeah, sure.
I would be careful with that because that can also potentially be deeply unsatisfying to the players.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like some would go and
use
say
that trick less often than more.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I also disagree with the argument that D&D is less dependent on its own world compared to Pathfinder. Sure, both have the established lore of their own world leak into the rulebooks and bestiaries/monster manuals at times, but the GM's guides of both systems give plenty of suggestions on how to build your own stuff. Absolutely. Absolutely they do. In fact, I would argue that 5e specifically is the least world-heavy like I guess lore heavy system of D&D. They
Yeah,
literally
that's far and away like easily true.
yeah, they literally made the Sword Coast Adventurers Guide, which nobody bought and nobody reads anymore. But but I did. And that is literally a lore book of everything in Faerun, and it is totally like separate
I
from the
mean, hell,
player's
dude,
handbook.
they had Ravnica too.
Yeah, they had Ravnica, they have all the adventures themselves. Like they all have their own lore, right? But
Mhm.
you could honestly probably just supplant everything out of them as they're doing with like the re-releasing into
Yeah.
Tasha's Cauldron. They're just taking a lot of shit that was in a bunch of things that nobody played and they're just putting it into a new book. Right? Like it's not
Not to
hard.
mention, if WotC can lift Expedition to Castle Ravenloft and turn it into Curse of Strahd,
Yeah.
I think you can do that too
Yeah. Oh,
as
absolutely.
a DM.
Absolutely. Uh Want to run a low magic world? Cool. Here are some suggestions on how to give your players other options. Want to have a world with a single deity instead of a polytheism, or instead of the polytheism that we wrote about ourselves? Neat. Here's some things to consider. Want to run a game in a world that's effectively in the Bronze Age? That I kind of want to do because it sounds fucking cool. Great. Just make sure to find alternatives for not allow more technologically advanced stuff. Yeah. Just yeah.
Yeah.
That whole
Yes.
yes. That whole section of the video just seems like such a weird tangent to go on while discussing a genre of games that literally relies on creativity. Especially the bit about not wanting to convert stuff from 1E to 2E, because there is literally a section in the GM's guide on how to convert 1E monsters to 2E equivalents.
So
Ooh.
I've not read the DM's guide
Sure.
for 2E, right?
Yeah.
But that's hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know either, but if that's true, like, oh boy. And I
Oh
don't
my
doubt it.
god.
That honestly makes the most sense because like Pathfinder 2E isn't too different from 1E. Like it's got a lot of
Yeah.
things that are up like there are sorry. The basics are still there, right? Like you can pretty much convert pretty easily and without a guide, I would say, just
Yeah,
by example alone.
Pathfinder 2E almost feels like sort of like an expansion pack, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, in that it overhauls some stuff that was clunky and dated and like not good and replaces it with some better, more streamlined things.
Mhm.
It feels it it feels like D&D 3.5 and 5e had a beautiful love baby.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That is entirely what it feels like. Uh
Granted, that is just my take.
right.
That part is
True.
opinion.
True. Fair. But I agree with it. So, I don't know. Um
And our opinions are right here.
Also, very happy to hear 2E isn't as complex as it may seem because I want to run a game for some friends, and reading through the books was a tad overwhelming at times. Fair enough. And the people who I'm going to be playing with also had some issues when building their characters, even without the bad faith arguments of the video you guys watched. Yeah. Um, I'm glad that it's persuaded you to actually try it out. because
Yeah.
because that's the whole point. Because his video bad does not do that at all, really. Well, it might. It might. I don't know. I hope it did more than it didn't, but I fear that it didn't. Um. So yeah, and obviously, Rico, go look at Basics for Gamers stuff. Very comprehensive, easy to learn.
Mhm.
Send it to your
Yes.
players. Like, really good stuff. Anyway, that's all the comments. Thank you, by the way, for commenting. Really appreciate it.
Yes. Do more of it.
Please. I love reading paragraphs. It's good. So,
I love
oh,
I love reading well thought out paragraphs.
Yeah, fair. So now we move on to the main event.
Hmm. The
This,
Chad himself,
this,
Shad.
yes, this is Shadiversity. Now, if you don't know about Shadiversity, he's a great content creator. He has some good stuff. At least I think so. He is rooted in knowing a lot about medieval and all that kind of weaponry and stuff. He is,
Armor, swords,
yes,
pikes, bows and
bows,
arrows.
everything, like everything.
Yes.
He analyzes like fight scenes in movies.
Hmm.
He has a bunch of videos on like actual realism in D&D apparently. Which I
If
didn't realize.
if you guys want to see someone who knows a bit about or quite a bit about sword fighting
Yeah.
die inside, watch him review The Last Jedi and
Oh
its
god,
fight
yeah.
scenes.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, that
It's
that movie
I just
broke my poor
I
man.
literally before like a little while ago I finished watching his thing on Mulan and I was like, "Oh no." um yeah, no, he's got a good mind for tactics. He's got a good mind for everything that is appropriate and period accurate. Um so he has a video that's called How Realistic is Dungeons and Dragons Combat, which is very interesting because and I will admit I watched the entire video because I started and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be good to talk about." And then I kept watching because I really liked it. It brought up some interesting things actually that I would love to talk about. So, let us begin.
Ha ha ha! Foolish bandit! You think you can defeat me, Shadrick of Versity, the mighty adventurer? Well, sir, I shall show you!
Oh, I love the grids.
Critical hit, in the head, dead. That's how he...
You must stay in the adjacent square.
Couple of questions. First, who are you? This strange, ethereal voice coming out of the sky, you know? I don't see you.
The Game Master.
What is a game master?
Basically, I'm like, the god of this world. I control everything.
Fair enough. Okay, then. Next question. Why do I have to stay in the adjacent 5-foot square? I technically didn't even step. Look, when I moved, foot still there, and hit. Why?
I don't make the rules.
What do you mean you don't make the rules? You just said you're effectively the god of this world.
I am the god of this kind of.
Well, change the rules.
What? Are you kidding me? Yeah, sure. Like, next time I give you a skill check or a saving throw, you'll just say, I made it up. And I tried so hard at this, you have no idea. And you players just throw it back in my face without giving a proper gratitude at all. You suck.
Do you need a Mountain Dew?
Yes. And now you have syphilis.
All right. That being said, it is a valid point. And by a valid point, I mean when I first started playing 3.5, I asked why do I have to be within 5 feet of someone to attack them?
So, yeah, he'll
Like-
bring up some points on that which I actually agree with and I think we could like easily homebrew. But yeah, it's definitely weird that you need to be right there, if you just think about it realistically.
So the answer that I got
Mhm.
was basically don't worry about it. And then the answer that I made for myself was in a combat scenario, like it's not just like we're standing next to each other and then I make an attack, I hit you, and then I wait for you to hit me.
Yep.
It's that you're all sort of jumbled up and more or less a mess around each other. And that 5 feet like may not technically actually in the game world be 5 exact feet square around you. It's just like this is the area that you're in more or less, and you have about 5 feet or so to work with. And actually, because I disliked that answer so much of the don't worry about it for the 5-foot rule, that was why I played a ranger.
That makes
I
sense.
was like,
Yeah.
I was like, screw attacking someone that I have to be close to. And he's like, well, you could dual wield swords. And I'm like, that's tempting. Would I have to be within 5 feet? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, bow and arrow it is.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll just let him make his point in a bit here, and we'll comment on it when it comes up. By the way, his fucking intro is really good, and I wish we had anything like this.
Greetings, I'm Shad, and it is tabletop time. Oh wait, wrong channel. Go check out Tabletop Time if you're interested in seeing me get up to some role-playing shenanigans, which is very related to the topic of this video. And that is, how realistic is Dungeons and Dragons?
So, before we go too far, I actually, because of that channel, that's how I found that he had D&D videos on his main channel. I looked through Tabletop Time. It doesn't look like there's been anything posted on it for 5 years, but there is some stuff on there, so I feel like maybe at some point we'll look into it if there's anything that's of note to talk about. But I think it's a lot of actual play stuff, I think. But still, go look at that stuff, I guess.
Combat. But before we go there, I want to let you know that you can actually get a free audiobook.
Oh, right, yeah, he's sponsored by Audible. I'm glad for him.
But we are not.
Yeah,
so
unfortunately.
Audible, you can shut up.
Yeah, if Audible wants to reach out.
Mm.
Hey.
Yes, if Audible wants to give money.
Yeah, we'll totally. I mean, anyway.
We can reconsider.
For sponsoring this video. So, a very fair question to ask in regards to the context of this video is why even bother? Why is this important? Because the rules as are for combat in Dungeons & Dragons, they obviously work, and they've worked for many years. And I know because I've played D&D for ages. Started with 1st edition, Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, 3.5 was my jam. 4th edition, I didn't even get into, and I hear 5th edition is pretty darn good. And so clearly, it does the job what it needs to, because this is a game. It's not necessarily meant to reflect real life, but there's an important caveat there. And in regards to role-playing, you are taking the role of an adventurer, and you often like to act out what they're doing, but even more so, you like to think of creative, unique ways to win against your opponents. And in regards to combat, that's actually a really fun, satisfying thing to think of. What if I did this to try and give myself an advantage to beat a difficult foe? And it is profoundly disappointing when you think of something that logically in the real life you should be able to do. You know the limits and lengths of your own physical abilities, and especially for someone who might be even more physically inclined than you, the adventurer you're role-playing. We've all seen some Olympic level athletes do some pretty amazing things, so we know what a human of this level can generally do. And if you think of something that is creative and you technically even be able to be...
Oh, Jesus. Yeah? What you got?
I know it is because his gambeson is ill-fitting. But all I could think of when you said, sometimes an adventurer that's even more physically fit than you, and then I looked at him with his, like, gambeson that is, like, bulging out between the belts, and I'm like, uh-huh.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
I know it's just ill-fitting, and, like, it's riding up, but
Yeah.
it looks like fat.
I understand.
Sorry.
Sorry,
Shad.
What I did want to talk about, though, is that he brings up a good point. When you're in a game and you have things that you can do to that you know in real life could be done easily enough, and you bring those up and somebody says no because the rules don't let it, it doesn't feel great. And I would say that this is the point where you have a discussion about, well, you can do this in real life, so why couldn't I do this, right now?
No.
Oh, well, obviously...
No homebrew in my world.
Oh, shit. Obviously, your DM might be less inclined to allow it depending on how they DM, which is perfectly natural. It's unfortunate if that is the case, but you've probably already figured out how your DM is able or is DMing, like what their style is, by this point, hopefully. If you don't, then it's probably something that just like having a conversation about afterwards is usually a good thing to do, right? Because you don't want to take up, like an hour just arguing it in the middle of the game. But afterwards you can go, well, all right, man. Or, probably like if I was, I don't know, near a stream and it's literally 5 feet across, I probably don't need to make a jump check. 'Cause I can
So
I can
you say that.
so, and again, this is the other thing, right? There are times where when they make you roll for things, it is to do the whole like get you into the spirit of rolling and going, you might fail and just fall in the stream and right, and create a memorable moment, which is totally fair.
So there is a river in the UK. I don't remember what the name of the river is off the top of my head, but you can look it up. It is a river with a long history of drowning people because it's really narrow and people think, oh, I can just jump over it, but it's a little bit wider than it actually looks, and
Oh.
it has a really strong current that goes straight down.
Oh.
And if you get sucked in that current, like people don't know how far down it goes.
Right.
And it has drowned like dozens, if not like hundreds of children over the course of people living near it.
All right, well, hush my mouth. See, now you've given me a real life example. And I go, okay, maybe I do need to make the jump check just in case that stream is a little
That's why when the DM is like, roll a jump check, I just go, yep.
But and he'll get into it for combat specifically, which I think there's a couple of things that I would actually allow if people felt strongly about it in my game. But there are some things that I would go, yeah, okay, let's try it out, but I'll give you like this penalty or this thing with it. So let's continue on.
Done in the real world, and then you are denied because the rules simply don't allow it. That is profoundly dissatisfying, like massively so. And I actually think there is a hole in the rules. Now, I'm using Dungeons & Dragons as the primary point of reference, and this is really just looking at D&D rules. But having said that, a lot of the limitations that I'll be pointing out here are reflective in a lot of other role-playing games. And so it would make sense if I point out or give suggestions of ways to improve it to make tabletop role-playing game combat more realistic and therefore more satisfying, to give more options to the players to think of creative ways to win against their opponents.
Now, I don't want to rain on his parade a little bit, but I kind of have to. I agree, at least for me personally, that having it be a little bit more realistic in the ways, at least the ways coming up, but also in just other ways, I think having the combat be more realistic would be a little more satisfying for me, right?
Oh yeah.
Because that is, but as I was trying to, say before, like, way earlier, realism, it and you even brought up realism and immersion overlap a lot of the time.
They have a lot of overlap, but it's not.
But it's
like the Venn diagram is not a circle.
Exactly. It is touching and it is overlapping, but it is not completely like encompassing it. And so for some people out there, they're probably thinking, well, I'd rather just, either go even more ridiculous or at rules as written and just play that way because it is fantasy and I like this playstyle more,
Which you can. That
absolutely.
is your prerogative.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like, that's another thing to consider. So, unfortunately, just being consistent here, for you and for me, it would be more satisfying, but not for everyone.
Yes.
But the thing is, I, with my brother, Jazza, you might know him from the YouTube channel Jazza, have actually made our own role-playing game addressing many of the problems that we have found in classic role-playing games like D&D, making combat more satisfying and realistic. And so as the point of reference for certain improvements, I probably will be actually referencing some of the rule examples that we have in Cogent Roleplay as an example of how things can be improved upon. And you don't need to do it the way that we've done it in our own role-playing system, but maybe as inspiration to make some homebrew rules for D&D to fix up some of these holes, or even in their own systems that you're doing. Okay, so Dungeons & Dragons, fundamentally, functions are like that the adventurer has control of a 5-foot radius around them. This technically means, when you look at the rules specifically, that no one can pass this area without encountering you. And that actually makes sense, okay? Because I can reach anywhere around me pretty quickly. But when it comes to combat, this is where things get a little interesting. The Dungeons & Dragons combat rules state that if you're using a medium or even a large weapon that doesn't have reach, you can only attack people who are in the adjacent 5-foot area to you, or essentially 5-foot distance from you. That's interesting. Now, as someone who has studied a bit of swordplay throughout my life, I will use Boromir here as an example, and if I was to fight someone this close, this is profoundly dangerous, okay? In actual fact, when you're facing off against an opponent in swordplay specifically, and this is before you actually engage in the bind or you're doing a move, because when you do that, yes, you can end up much closer, like the 5-foot distance here, but when you're just facing off opponents, being ready to offend one another, it's actually around 10 foot, like literally from here to here. And just to point this out, I will, stand here, okay, and bring in a opposing version of myself just over in that square. Now, if we're in this square and we lean forward a bit, look how close our swords are coming to one another, okay? This is the area of danger. As soon as you get this close, suddenly, not only can you hit them, but they can hit you.
Do you mind if we just call real quick? Just give me like 1 second. I just spilled ink all over myself. I'll be like right back.
All right, yeah, I'll entertain the people. We're very professional, you know this. Yeah. So he's bringing up an interesting point here because in real life, as he's demonstrating, being right next to somebody, if you're in the bind, which is a whole thing about sword play. The bind is where you're clashing, but it's not something that happens like for too long. As far as I have my understanding of it, when you're in the bind, it lasts for very little time, and you don't want to continue to be in the bind because that whole time you're kind of struggling to find the advantages of the advantage that you can have against your opponent, at least to my understanding. And so being basically in the bind at all times means that you're much more likely to get hit. But I guess I feel like, and as Aiden pointed out a little while ago, when I think of D&D combat, right, it's not static. This is something that was kind of drilled into me by my first DM, and I suppose for Aiden as well, because he and I shared our first DM.
I return to you now.
Thank you. Oh, good. I'm just going into what I'm thinking in regards to what he's saying. So basically, since it shouldn't be seen as static. I mean, it can be, I guess, and I shouldn't say that it shouldn't be. But it doesn't make logical sense that everything is just on a turn-based system, right? It's not Final Fantasy where we're in combat.
Everyone is jumping and moving around and shoving and doing crazy things.
Yes.
But like that doesn't actually get represented by you having like, oh, I declare that I shove. It's like, no, your person is currently getting wailed on like in game world.
Yes.
And has just done like a shield bash to someone's face. They've not taken damage from it because it's not your attack. It's just combat is happening.
Yes, exactly.
Oh.
Well, I was gonna say the progression of this is you have your armor class, you have your dexterity, all that kind of stuff, and so basically, again, yeah, you're in combat with somebody. They are trying to hit you, but they aren't doing damage to you. They're hitting you and like being bounced off the armor, or you're dodging or something. Like it's in the theater of the mind that, at least for what we see it as, is they're getting in the bind, they're getting out of the bind, like they're fighting still. It's just every now and again somebody actually is able to do something to their advantage, right?
Yes.
Now it's again not represented as easily unless your DM is really driving that into your head, or you have that preconceived notion, right? But what he's saying here with being so close and it being dangerous, and like I agree that literally standing there, being in the bind and being super like in danger the entire time would not be something that you do, which is why in 3.5 you used to have the ability to take a 5-foot step. And you could do that twice and that would be your movement. But they were free actions, I believe.
Wasn't.
Or was it only the one time that it was a
I
free
think
action?
It was only the once.
Okay. So basically, sorry, then brain. So then you would move in with your movement. Yeah, please
Yep,
fact check me.
I have a book and I will find it for you.
Thank you. So you could move in, right? Do attacks and stuff, and then you could, if you wanted to be more realistic, you could 5-foot step out, right? With your free action.
Which kind of got rolled into the rogue's disengage.
Well, so that's what I was going to say. In 5e, the only one who can do that is the rogue, right? If they're at the level where they can use it as a bonus action to disengage. But you would think that any competent sword user, anyone who's trained in combat, could do it. That is something that you could naturally like think to do, and honestly I might start using it in 5e again, because like everyone can move like ridiculous amounts anyway, so might as well just going in, getting in the back, like all that kind of stuff, doing the thing to make it feel like an actual engagement rather than a slog.
What I would do would be to make it so that you can 5-foot step out of someone else's like space. And that is your movement, but it does not provoke attack of opportunity. So it makes it such that if you are like dueling someone and you're trying to like get out of there without provoking attack of opportunity, it'll never happen.
Right.
Because same thing with if you're dueling someone IRL and you're trying to get rid of them, they're just going to chase you down.
Yeah.
But if you're say ganging up on an enemy and you go, "Oh boy, I don't like this," you can just take a 5-foot step away from them this turn and sort of take the gamble that they're not going to turn and pursue you, because that would then provoke attack of opportunity from the other person who's in melee with them, and it gives you a chance to hightail it out of there and sort of leave the fighter to fend for himself.
Yeah.
It also makes it such that if one person's, you can sort of start to play chess kind of, because if person A, B, and C are sort of in combat with each other, right?
Right.
B is the enemy.
Okay.
Person A moves away and sort of creates that opening. And now, even if person B shifts to be in melee with person A again, person C is now free to disengage. So by taking that 5-foot step, you always ensure at least one of you can get out.
True. And I feel like that would also make what's it called? Make flanking more valuable, because I feel like flanking would then negate the ability to do that.
Yes.
In the sense of what I'm thinking of flanking, where you surround them entirely. Because
swarming.
Yes, because with regular flanking as a optional rule in the player's handbook, it's you would already have flanking just because of being 2 people on
Yeah.
either side, which is not
That-
something that I enjoy.
Miscellaneous actions. Take a 5-foot step, page 144 of the 3.5 Player's Handbook.
Mhm.
You can move 5 feet in any round when you don't perform any other kind of movement. Taking this 5-foot step never provokes an attack of opportunity.
Mhm.
You can't take more than one 5-foot step in a round, and
Okay.
you can't take a 5-foot step in the same round when you move any distance.
Oh, so you can't move at all after taking the 5-foot
Yeah,
step.
because
Okay,
otherwise
gotcha.
if you can just move 5 feet as a free action, then everyone's speed is actually 35 feet.
You're right. Okay, gotcha. So yeah, actually you're absolutely right then. I feel like if you use it the way that you suggested, then it would make a lot more sense, and I feel like that could
Which-
lead to some very interesting play.
The way that I suggested is also basically how it works in 3.5.
Exactly, right? that's entirely how it is. Man,
So
who
like
would think?
all I'm saying is that WotC should have hired me on as a consultant.
Who would think that we would praise things from 3.5? Huh?
What? In
What?
this podcast?
What are we doing here? But yeah, so let's continue on with his points.
very quickly and off against an opponent, this is actually the standard range that you usually operate in. And so just in the basic stances of your opponents, 5 foot adjacent is way too close in real life. No. Like I said, it's actually more, distance to 10 feet. The next oddity in the Dungeons and Dragons rules is the rule that you can only attack opponents 5 feet away from you with weapons that don't have reach. So let's just double check this, and this is with a one-handed weapon, not even a longsword, which is longer.
That's a big step.
If the Dungeons and Dragons rules were
One might almost say that step encompassed 5 feet.
Yeah, he'll get into what he says about that later,
And
but at the moment,
so
yeah, give me your thoughts.
I hope that he gets into it later, that the rules say that you can only do this, because in reality, yes, they say you can only do that, and the
Mhm.
reason why they say that is because it's can you effectively do it.
That's so unfortunately he doesn't go into that as much, and that was what I was thinking during it, because if you are doing what he did with the lunge, right?
Mhm.
And for those of you who are audio listeners, he does a big lunge. I would highly suggest watching this video. He does a very big lunge that encompasses, I would say, probably 2.5 feet of.
Oh, dude, that's 4 easy.
Is it 4? Okay, I'm very bad with distance.
Chad's like what, 6 feet, right?
I don't know. Yes?
Google holds all answers.
Uh-oh. I'm bad at judging distance, so I actually don't know.
I actually just typed how tall is Google. Oh fuck.
Dude, I don't know. Let me think. How tall is Google? Huh. Infinite?
Oh.
Or maybe not. Maybe just not tall. Maybe null? I don't know.
I'm not seeing anything immediately, which leads me to believe he is heightless.
Okay, yes. So Shad is all heights. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Good to know. But regardless, he takes a very big lunge, and you can see, in fact, I'll bring it back so we can have a frame of it.
Granted, doing a lunge in like combat is not unheard of. Like,
no, and
people can effectively lunge. It is
yes,
a type of strike.
Yes.
opponents 10 feet
It's
away.
a risky strike.
Yes. Okay. Let's.
The next oddity in the Dungeons and Dragons rules is the rule that you can only attack opponents 5 feet away from you with weapons that don't have reach. Mm-hmm. So let's just double check this, and this is with a one-handed weapon, not even a longsword, which is longer.
Yeah,
okay.
Dude, that is more than 2 feet.
Okay, yeah, I don't know distances, dude. I'm real bad. Okay.
I would say that's safely a yard.
Okay, I'll conclude a yard then. But my point is, looking at this, like you said, effectively, right? Effectively hitting them within 5 feet. Now, I would posit that if somebody wants to use their weapon like this, basically in any combat, I would give them disadvantage. It's well, maybe not disadvantage, maybe like a -2, right? But something to show that they are overexerting a little bit or reaching a little bit, you know?
So to use a short sword at a range of 10 feet, you take a penalty on the roll, but you can still do it.
Yes.
I would say that's fair.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I might introduce that myself.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm starting, because this video actually made me start thinking about this. And
I would say a -4.
okay.
Just make it the same penalty as a called shot.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. Okay. That does sound good. But this is the thing, right? The other thing that I think about is, could you provoke attack of opportunity doing this? Would that also be a good way to kind of make it a risk-reward thing?
I would say not if you're dueling someone, no. It does not provoke attack of opportunity.
Right.
But if say there's someone directly behind Shad, like where
Yeah.
that door is,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Anyone within 5 feet of where he started.
Because look at where his weight distribution is,
Oh,
look at
yeah.
where his
Oh,
focus is.
yeah.
Like that is a very cleavable back leg that he's
Yes.
got right there.
And to be fair, this takes only like 2 seconds, right? Like for him to do this, but it only takes a second really to just swing down. Right? But yes, so the other thing is, this is a 5-foot step, right? This is all, for all intents and purposes, kind of like just using a 5-foot step to go back and forth. It's weird, because and for Raw, if you're a battle master, you can use your superiority die to give yourself, if you have the tactic, lunge or reach, or I don't remember what it's called. I will look. But a fighter who is a battle master can do this with any weapon as long as they use their superiority die, right? And they're a battle master. It is but lunging attack, legitimately called lunging attack.
There you go.
It is on page 74 of the 5e Player's Handbook. So yes, lunging attack is basically what he's doing, right? And they have that, but I would say that anyone could do it. It's just not as effective, right? So having that -4 or attack of opportunity, or both, really, as long as they're not dueling, that makes it so that it makes sense that anyone could do it, but the fighters are, like, battle masters specifically, are specifically trained to do that.
Yeah.
Right? So it doesn't take away from their special. Yeah, so I feel like the other thing that I have to bring up, though, is, like, is this like
Yes.
a move action?
No.
You don't
No,
think
that's
so?
an attack. No.
Okay. Because
Again,
most of his body is, like, in there, you know?
Maybe a 5-foot step, right? Oh, it is funny that you mentioned most of his body's in there, because, like, yeah, it really goes to double down on the whole, you attack things in the square next to you.
Yes. Exactly, right?
Hey, look, I can attack things from this square. Moves into the other square.
Right, exactly, right? Like, that was the whole thing that immediately I came to my mind of, like, well, you're not still, like, I understand you still have your foot planted, and he'll bring that up, but your foot is still planted back there, but you are moving your entire body forward.
Yeah, granted, in terms of what I know of swordsmanship, which is granted little,
Yeah.
he is still considered as being over in the cardboard square.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because this is just a lunge, it is not a repositioning.
True. Very true.
However, a lunge can easily be turned into a reposition if you're
Yes.
trying to basically bully someone and, like, move them.
Yeah.
So, like, coin toss.
Yeah.
if the Dungeons and Dragons rules were more realistic, they would actually allow you to attack opponents 10 feet away from you, even if you don't have weapons with reach. But what if you do have a weapon with reach? All right, I have a polearm, specifically my sword staff prop that I made for my video on the sword staff, okay? It's an actual real weapon. So, first of all, just without even moving, yeah, definitely, I can strike the opponent 10 feet away. But what if I go an additional 1 foot? And from here, just lunging.
Yeah, so again,
yes, so have your entire body except for your knee over in the square, yes.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that's the one caveat that I have with this whole thing. Like, I agree, yes, you should be able to do it, but you are quite literally in another square. It's not you being 10 feet away and hitting them, or 15 feet away and hitting them in the same, like, without moving. You're still moving, right? It's just, I understand that it is itself an attack, and that's why I'm proposing the taking the minuses. And
I would, yeah, just make it something that people can do with a penalty.
Yeah.
And then like Battlemaster can do it with no penalty.
exactly.
Do it the Pathfinder 2e way. Everyone can do it, but they'll probably suck, except for if you're trained, in which case do it neutrally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You can actually, without moving out of, well, when I say out,
Moves back into
I
square.
consider this a lunge and not necessarily a step. I would say a step is when you actually step, okay? Because your other...
Yes, but you're also still stepping forward with your foot.
Yes.
So...
That
yes.
is what that is considered a step.
Yeah.
You do not have to move both feet for a step, but sure.
Exactly, right? Like
I'll
I
give it
understand
to
his
you
point.
because it is a matter of how sticklery you want to be on semantics.
It is true.
Unfortunately, D&D is a game with a lot of semantics.
Yes, exactly. We have to discuss the semantics of it, because this is, unfortunately, a big part of it for you there. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, just I'll hold thoughts.
Okay.
Is not moving from position, and when you lunge to strike your opponent... hang on. I didn't lunge far enough then, but you can do it.
Oh, so
Lunge.
you shifted your back foot. You shifted your back foot right there.
Exactly, right? Like, he then goes about and moves his body forward more, and look at how much more he's in that square.
So I find it funny too, because you're in that 5-foot square. You should be able to strike him from anywhere in that 5-foot square.
Yes.
So, and also keep in mind, he has a 5-foot square that he can move around in too.
Yes.
He can just move to the edge of his 5-foot square and totally nullify your whole point.
Exactly.
So, like, if you're viewing this as chess pieces, yes, your point holds.
Very true.
Because it is a pawn with a spear. Unfortunately, he can move.
Exactly.
Like, so can you, but he's not going to stand still while you maneuver yourself to the square farther away and then shift 2 feet closer to him in that square, eye up the distance between you and him, and then lunge, making it so everything but your knee is back in your original square.
Look at that. So much easier, right? My foot didn't move. By
Very
keeping his back foot planted, I technically haven't moved out of that square. But what?
Technically you have.
Into a new square.
Yeah, technically you are in another square. Like, if you're gonna use technically, you're in that square.
Yeah, a part of you has moved into it, but if you want to be a whole figure of semantics and say, well, when I stand in the cardboard square and attack, my arms are in the next square over. Do I move into the new square then? The answer is no, and you're being reductive, because I will ask you a simple question. I, as a DM, then ask you, okay, one of these two squares. Hold on, let me just move it back a second or
Okay.
two.
Yep.
Let's
Okay,
get a
because
thing.
your other the back foot is not
Uh-huh.
moving from position, and when you lunge,
There we go. Cool. I, as a DM, make you an offer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lava is going to fall into one of those two squares.
Oh.
One of which is the square that you claim is your occupied square.
Mm.
The other square is what you claim is the unoccupied square.
Mm.
Now, which would you rather have the lava fall on?
Mm.
The unoccupied square that contains 90% of your body,
Mm.
or your quote unquote occupied square which contains only your leg? Take your pick. I will let you choose. I'm a generous god.
Uh.
to strike your opponent. Oh, hang on, I didn't lunge far enough then, but you can do it. So
It's
lunge,
almost
look at that.
difficult to stab in that
So much
square.
easier, right? My foot didn't move. By keeping this back foot planted, I technically haven't moved out of that square. But what about great swords? Because I have always made the contention that great swords in the Dungeons & Dragons rules don't actually operate the way they do in real life. Real great swords are long, okay? Particularly long, and therefore should have the quality or the weapon characteristic of reach.
I agree with you.
And
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
for just hitting people 10 feet away from you, cake.
Boom. Easy peasy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That I
I
100%.
100% agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
There is no reason why great swords do not have reach. I don't understand.
It
No.
has been a stickler point of mine for years, and the only reason why I allow it is because great swords deal 2d6 damage, which is good.
That was exactly what I was gonna say. It does a lot of damage. That's the only reason why it's in place.
Already.
Yes, exactly.
Granted, though, we're talking not game balance, but what is realistic.
Very true, very true. But so I agree absolutely that it should be for realism's sake. If we are going more realistic.
Yeah.
It's not even with my...
So what I would then counter with is we can go the realism route and give your weapon reach. Sure, no problem. But I'm going to definitely keep in mind the fact that you have a long as fuck sword when you're moving in between rocks, moving through bushes, trying to stealth ever, trying to climb anything ever, trying to sit down, trying to get through a doorway. Like where we can go the realism route, my guy. How far do you want to do this?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it depends obviously on how realistic you want your entire campaign, right? Because if we do it just for combat, then okay, sure, we can have it be more realistic combat only. But then you also have, you know, like you're saying, whenever I scale a cliff, that
clank clank clank,
right, that greatsword might be a little bit more of hampering. And to be fair, don't know how secure you can make it, right? I watched another video of his that was like on all the things that you can carry, an adventurer could carry, like realistically. And I was like,
it was a good one.
It's a very good one. It's very informative. Maybe we'll watch it on the show as well and actually talk about it if we go into realism again in this fashion. But so I don't know how securely you could have the greatsword on your back or on your hip, and if that would like be too much of an issue for climbing something or for, you know, all these kinds of different things that you could be doing as an adventurer specifically.
An adventurer.
But what about the weapons that really have reach, like the long sword staff that I showed with that could actually hit people 15 feet away from you? Well, I think it can, but this one is debatable because for me to reach, that opponent, I'm going to have my back foot really on the edge of the square here and do a very large lean, but I can absolutely strike him, still keeping myself technically in this square. So
again, no.
Again.
Quite literally, that was 95% of your body inside of that square. Like, you have it on camera.
We can go into the lava example again.
And I would say definitely, again, if we want to do a homebrew rule of it, I would give you the whole, like, you hit them for -4. Yes, then we'll do it just like that. But yeah, other than that, I feel like this is the least I guess, agreeable that I can be with your examples of lengths of weapons, because this thing is, you literally have to be on the edge, and what's to say that the other person is on the edge on the other side, right? Like, they're super far away from you. How
Yeah,
do you...
again, they can jump back or take a step backward.
Yes, exactly. Again, not static combat, at least as far as we look at it. So, I don't know.
I actually think greatswords should definitely have reach, especially if there are other weapons that have reach that of similar size. Like, this is the length of standard spear, okay? It's not as long as the sword staff, but the greatsword is very close in length to this. And yeah, I could absolutely hit my opponent with this, keeping my foot in this back square.
We've already
And so I
talked about
think
it.
the actual ranges is
Yeah,
standard
but he
weapons.
keeps doing it.
I know. It's just like, yeah, average spear size, okay, fine. I concur that, yes, you... And again, I'll bring it up. You can do it as long as you take the penalties, because, man, oh man, if somebody is right behind you and they see you do that shit, you best believe
Boy,
your
oh
Achilles
boy.
heel is gone. Or your Achilles tendon, excuse me, is gone.
Oh, don't worry, I think the heel's going too.
Yeah, you're right.
Um, I also, and this is just a gripe about D&D in general,
Sure.
but I do miss the fact that they don't have short spears and long spears.
Yeah, well, I would honestly say, like, just a standard javelin, I could consider a short spear, if you just want
Yeah,
to, do that.
Can hit opponents 10 feet away from you, and reach weapons can hit opponents 15 feet away from you.
I'm happy to acknowledge that that point can be debated a little. If you interpret the rules to mean that you can't attack anyone without most of your body being in the adjacent square, well then it's true. When I'm using a weapon without reach and standing in the square 10 feet away, I need to lunge, moving most of my body into the
There you
square
go.
that is
Okay.
5 foot away from the opponent to hit them, even though I can plant my back foot and not move it out of the square that is 10 feet away from the opponent. But because most of my body is essentially in the square that is 5 foot away, that could be interpreted to mean that I am technically in the square that is 5 foot away and not 10 foot away from the opponent. So I think that is a legitimate and fair argument, but my point about being able to strike opponents 10 foot away from you with weapons that don't have reach and not fully moving out of the square that is 10 foot away still stands. There should be some type of allowance for adventurers that are using weapons without reach to hit opponents
Which we've
10
discussed.
foot away from you without technically moving out of that square that is 10 foot away. And
Excellent, Shad. All is forgiven.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I agree. And I think
Mhm.
there should be something to do the disengage thing, like we were talking about. Like, but that is kind of built in, but it's also not built in for anything that isn't a rogue, really. One toe in the square is totally still in the square, says Vortexus. Yeah, I mean, yeah, right?
Yeah.
Not for the
Clearly.
purposes, right? Like, it's super obvious that you're still in the square. My pinky toe is still there.
It's like kids at recess, right? It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
I'm still on. It's like, no, you're fucking not, you
Yeah,
little
come on.
shit.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I do agree that yes, you can, and it kind of boils down to the same reason why they call it like a threat square. It's like you threaten things that are 5 feet away from you in all
Yep.
directions, right?
Yep.
But like, I would be pretty threatened by a guy standing 10 feet away from me with a sword.
Well, yeah, but being threatened is different than being able to hit somebody effectively.
Which, yeah, I'd say you can still absolutely make a roll.
Yeah, sure.
You just are gonna take -4 on it.
Yeah, exactly. And like he said in the beginning, if you're in a real sword fight, you would want to be 10 feet away from them anyway, like most of the time, so that you are safe. And that makes sense. And again, like I said, if you're in the bind, you're not going to be in the bind for forever, because that's bad. Don't be in the bind.
That's how you lose fingers and
Yeah.
arms.
And just life in general.
Yeah, like, typically you only move in to that like 5 foot square next to the person when you are actually killing them.
Yes, in real life, yeah.
Most Saber Age duels and stuff like that you find, they're closer,
Mhm.
but still not necessarily like standing right up like 3 feet distance between the two of them, because if my shoulders are 3 feet from your shoulders, I'm gonna
Mhm.
go, well, I can very easily just put sword through his head.
Mhm.
Um, and he's gonna be thinking the same thing for me, so I'm gonna go, you know what? I want to live probably more than I want him to die.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it ma
What?
so
What?
it
What a fucking novel concept, dude.
not always, all right?
Oh,
But
I
like, so
see.
there may be some paladins that are like,
Mm.
but like you absolutely are going to be standing about 10 feet away in terms of like realistic combat.
Mhm.
So I would be fine with allowances being made for it, yes, if you're going to like rework the combat system. As it is, I think combat system is currently fine.
Well, he did say, yeah, he just has a few issues with it just in terms of realism, but he knows it works. So he's not like
Mhm,
saying it's bad, right? He's just saying that there's some things that would make it more satisfying for him.
mhm.
Um, which I mean, he says just satisfying. He doesn't say for him, but anyway.
It can be assumed.
Yeah, it is assumed
Also,
at this point. Um, I was going to actually bring up, could we not also think that the sword fighting between the two people is like, say you're in the grid, right? And you're
mm,
like, just like this, what if he's fully on that point of the square, like he's like right on the edge and the other person is right on the edge, and that is the distance, right?
mhm,
Well, because that is way closer to 10 feet anyway,
mhm.
right? And then you go
Yeah,
and do the bind and all that. Like, is that not what's happening in D&D's combat itself? Can you not think that? Because I
yeah,
feel like that's
because like
very easy to
usually you're like,
think.
oh, there is 5 feet of space between me and him,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
like it is just that 5 feet,
Yeah,
not like the 10 total feet that it would be if we were both centered in our respective squares.
exactly. Like,
Um,
because you're not, again, like you said, it's not chess, technically. You're not just in the middle of the square all the
mhm.
time.
However, I do think that while that scenario would happen realistically, yes,
Yeah.
it is still easier to think about it as if is chess somewhat,
Yeah, no, it
because
is easier,
otherwise
yes.
you will have like squares that are crowded with like two people in it,
Right.
or like people just clumping all on like one corner of their square, and then you have four people in like what is less than 1 5 foot
No,
square
I
because
get
they're
I
all,
get that. What I'm saying
yeah.
is just using it theater of the mind just to make it feel more realistic without having to completely overhaul the system a bit, you know?
Mhm,
It makes more sense to me to just go, "Oh no, okay, so they are quite literally doing the dueling stuff. They're doing the binds and stuff, but they are backing off when they need to and they're still remaining in that 5 feet."
mhm.
Right? If we really need to make it feel more realistic, just and not have to change anything. We can do it with our brain. We can just do
Yeah.
it just looking at the minis. And yeah, it doesn't change where you put them on the space, and you can't have two things on the space still, but it just feels like that's what's happening.
I would also say in general,
Mm,
granted, we are not Shad, who like for us the suspension of
I'm not?
disbelief of saying, "Oh, this makes sense," is
Yeah, yeah.
easier for us than Shad because
Well,
there is less for us to suspend disbelieving.
that is true.
Um,
That is fair.
however, this puts us and probably I'm gonna go out on a limb here and
Hmm.
say most. I have
Uh-oh.
no facts or figures to
Oh my
back
god.
up that statement of most,
A
but
brave place to be.
I am I am stepping out of my 5 foot square.
Oh my god.
I would say that most D&D players, because they do not have the level of sword fighting experience that say Shad does,
Yep.
it is not a problem that comes up where that is breaking immersion or like theater of the mind,
No, of course.
and as such, like, it's fine.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to put something forward that might help him without having to worry about it if that's something that he or somebody else would need to like think about. But he plays anyway, so he's fine. Right? Like he still likes the system. He's fine. I'm just saying I feel like there's an easy fix for those who, need that, I guess.
And in general, like, what my advice is always is like, well, why don't you propose a fix then? And he did.
Oh yeah, he did.
He made a whole new system, which is like,
Well, yeah, that as well, but he also has just said just make it so that you have them have 10 foot and 15 foot, which I'm not necessarily going to agree with. Just allow the, like what we said with the take the -4 and all that. That
it's something it's something I'd probably keep in mind if I were to do a super realistic game, and I may present it to my players in a campaign that's starting up soon. Is like, I know we've talked about called shots, but if you guys want to do things a little weirdly, we can also perhaps implement this,
Yeah, absolutely.
and then just see, like, put it to a vote.
Yeah.
This then increases if the weapon has reached to 15 foot away from you, because it literally, physically can be done in the real world.
The next thing that I want to point out is how easy it is to move just 5 foot. I mean, it's not that when you're fighting, you're like, and now I'm here. You can shift 5 foot distance with a single step, that quickly, and back. And how quickly did...
If you don't have someone swinging a sword at your face, yes.
I also missed 3.5, Shad.
Takes, like, barely even a second, right? And so, with that in mind, I actually think moving to the adjacent square in a combat round should be a free action, almost. And when you attack someone, even if you're, say, a square distance from them at 10 feet, when you attack, you have the option of either moving into the adjacent square or remaining in this square. Makes sense.
Point of clarification, in Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 you can move 5 feet as a free action to attack an opponent 10 feet away from you and not necessarily use up any of your movement distance. But the point I'm making...
No. Wait.
Let me double check. And this is why you give people page numbers, Shad.
Yeah, I believe what you read, and I know you're finding it now, but I believe what you read was it uses your movement.
That was for one kind of 5 foot step. There's a whole section on different kinds of 5 foot step.
Okay.
Move actions: draw or sheath a weapon, ready or loose a shield, manipulate an item, direct or redirect a spell. Oh, redirect a spell.
Oh, I remember that. We never used that.
We never did.
No.
That was... God.
Well, we can bring it up and do it taboo at some point.
Some of these options. Yeah. When you don't perform any other kind of movement, you can take a 5 foot step before, during, or after your other actions in the round. For example, you could draw a weapon, a move action, take a 5 foot step, and then attack, a standard action. Or you could cast Fireball, a standard action, take a 5 foot step through an open door, then close the door, a move action. You can only take a 5 foot step if your movement isn't hampered by difficult terrain. See page 148, or darkness.
Yeah, because you can't really see where you're going, I guess.
Yeah, but like, if I'm gonna bump over a table, sure, like in a bar fight, yeah, I can understand that. But if I know the area is flat and then someone casts darkness, I still know the area is flat.
Yeah, no, it's true. I would say it's situational.
Yeah, since moving even 5 feet requires a move action for such a slow creature, sure. You may not take a 5 foot step using a form of movement for which you don't have a listed speed. For example, if you don't have a climb speed, you can't use climbing to make a 5 foot step. Similarly, you can't take a 5 foot step with swimming unless you have a listed swim speed.
Interesting. So you can actually 5 foot step up a tree if you have climb.
Yes.
That's cool. Didn't know that.
It's literally just jumping up the tree.
I know. It's just...
Which
I just
reminds
find it really
me
funny.
of that. It reminds me of that one combat we had in our first campaign, Alejo, wherein we were fighting. I think it was what was it, a centaur, and like my character just climbed a tree and he started shooting arrows, and your character was like dead on the ground, and you didn't want to like spend the movement to stand up, so you were
Oh yeah,
prone,
no, that's right.
firing off
That was
spells.
yeah, because we got hit, I was on the ground and I was playing a warlock, and 3.5 when you and honestly in any system you can just cast spells on the ground. So I was just like, nah, I'm not gonna move. I just kept using Eldritch Blast,
Pew,
just laying down. He wasn't
pew.
coming
I'm
after
not.
me. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not seeing anything
To contradict it.
to support it or contradict
Well,
it.
you
I'm not
said
seeing
that
it
it's a
mentioned.
free action, right?
Yeah, but yeah, I suppose this is a free action
Yeah.
technically. Yeah.
It's technically either a free or
So,
swift
so
action, which are both
yeah,
very similar.
you can use it. You can use your move action for something else, such as to manipulate an object.
Oh, but you can't move after.
But you can't have moved.
Okay, so if you've moved, you can't 5-foot step, and after you have done a 5-foot step, can you move? Like actually
After you move a 5-foot step, you cannot move.
Okay, so yeah.
So it's like close a door, which is considered a
Right.
move action,
Yes,
and then
yes.
take a 5-foot step away from it.
Exactly. Okay, so yeah, that's one of the things where it's like, again, with 5e specifically, that's why they have disengage, so that you take that action to just move and stuff. But if you were to add in, like with the thing that we have proposed with, or that you have proposed, which was the using it as your full movement, it would make the most sense. Just to, if you take the 5-foot step, you've used your movement. Doesn't provoke an attack of opportunity, and that's it. You can still like, well, to be fair, in 5e you can just pick up weapons and do a bunch of shit anyway. But use your move action to still. So yeah, it's literally, it would be the same thing as in 3.5. It's just that what he's proposing is to move forward and then move back. And that's not something you could do technically in either case. He's just saying that you could do it. And which I would say, with the system as it is, if you move into a square and then move out of a square, you provoke an attack of opportunity. Now, that then goes into, well, should it, because you're just doing a single strike of a lunge, right? And then just getting out? And I would go, I don't know. I mean, maybe they lunge back, you know? I don't know, right? And then you would have this perpetual thing for a couple of seconds of like, hey, I lunge forward, now you lunge, and now I get to lunge, but I can't, but I then lunge again, right? Which doesn't really work for the system. So again, this doesn't feel like something that would work for D&D currently. Just as a thing that you could do, technically.
So I know this isn't related to the 5-foot step, right?
Okay.
But because I was looking at page 144, my eyes happened to glance upon page 145 to the massive damage rule.
Okay.
If you ever sustain damage so massive that a single attack deals 50 points of damage or more, and it doesn't kill you outright, you must make a DC 15 Fortitude save. If this saving throw fails, you die regardless of your current hit points.
Yep.
And all I can think of is, man, imagine implementing this to Pathfinder 2e.
Oh, geez, yeah, no, that wouldn't make any. It would probably be like 100 to like something, you know, like. But it would have to be a specific thing for that. Yeah. Anyway, let's continue.
Making here is that you should have the freedom to remain in the square that was 10 feet away from you, because you can attack people 10 feet away from you while keeping a foot in your starting position without...
Oh, sorry, without.
actually having moved fully into the square closest to.
So, fully, right? Yeah, you're not
Mm.
moving fully because you're leaving your foot back there, but dude, most of your body is now there.
Technically speaking,
Yeah.
you have a few skin cells even when you take a 5-foot
Oh,
step to the
Jesus.
next square. So did you really fully move?
My hair follicles fell out, and
Mhm,
well, like,
mhm.
no. Okay, so I, I don't know, man. Like, I see what you're trying to say, right?
Yeah,
If
it
this
doesn't
was
mean
a
I agree,
No,
but I see
exactly.
it.
This in a duel, I'd be like, yeah, they wouldn't really, I guess, get the chance to attack you after you've done your lunge, maybe. But also, maybe they would. I don't know. I'm not experienced in
Yeah,
sword fighting.
so the problem with a lunge is twofold.
Yeah.
The first of which is that it is a very risky maneuver that oftentimes leaves you open otherwise. And we've discussed this with if someone is like behind that square, like
Yes.
by the door when he does the lunge. And
That we
there's
get to.
also the very notable problem of when you lunge, your weight is not centered favorably.
Yeah.
You have all of your weight on a foot, and boy, oh boy, does that make you easy to knock over.
Exactly. Knock over, stumble forward, all that kind of stuff. If somebody hits
Mhm.
you in the back, you're going forward. Or you're dying. I don't know.
So, yeah, sure, attack someone from 10 feet away with a short sword if you want, but, like, maybe we're back to Alejo's thing of provoking attack of opportunity if you want.
Yeah.
I had mentioned taking a -4 on the roll to hit
Yeah.
because it is a penalty to hit, but does not make it so that you feel like you are being punished for doing something as simple as a lunge.
Exactly. Yeah. Disadvantage is a bit much. Now that I
Yeah,
think
and I
about it.
uh, not not necessarily even disadvantage, just like attack of opportunity being provoked on you. No one's ever going to want to take that.
What do you mean?
But like if I want
Oh,
to lunge
oh,
to
I see.
someone
Yeah.
and I provoke attack of opportunity from that person, then like maybe it's a person short, maybe it's a badass person, maybe it's an owl bear.
Yeah.
And an owl bear is going to probably deal more damage in a single attack with that attack of opportunity than I would with my short sword.
Yeah, it does completely make it so that you don't want to take it. I agree.
Yeah,
But
it makes it so mathematically unfavorable that it's like far more preferable
yeah.
to just have it be a -4.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But the other thing is like with what he's proposing, I don't know. It doesn't feel like it would work. Cuz again, you're just stepping right into that square and then you're stepping right back. You're like, "Haha." Wah! And I know I'm looking at it from the rules as written right now, just in the sense of like attacks of opportunity and how they work. But how can I not when you are quite literally leaving the square,
Yeah,
like with the example that is being given, literally with his entire body being in the
dude.
square except for
Dude,
his
if
foot.
you want to make an example of this, get like someone like Runesmith to do the stabbing for you. Someone with like gangly arms that
Yeah.
he inherently has reach. So then that way the footage looks a bit more
I mean,
favorable. Like,
to be fair,
oh yes, that guy stabbed someone 10 feet away
yeah, and
versus you who is crossing into the next square.
there is a reason why bugbears are fucking awesome because they get 5
Yeah,
foot more to their reach on any weapon. And then
yeah,
you become
lanky
a battle
arms.
master bugbear with a what is it? There's a special weapon that gives another 5 feet of reach. So then you can get 25 feet of reach basically.
Jesus.
Or 20. Yeah, 20 to 25 feet of reach with one attack it with your battle master.
Wait, no, shouldn't it be 15?
So
Because
no,
bugbears have 10 feet total.
no okay, sorry. So basically it adds on 5 feet, right?
Okay, so we've
And
gone from 10 to 15 and then plus 5 more for
yes, so
Battlemaster?
it'd be 20. Sorry, apologies. Yes, but I believe it would be a 20-foot range with Battlemaster and with a specific weapon. I'll find it. Yeah, it's fucking
What is it,
awesome.
like a washing pole or something?
No. It's let me find it right quick here. It is the... I remember using it and I was just like, this is great. I love this.
Guys, I gotta tell you, this is really great.
The glaive, I think it was?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, okay, I think it would work for any reach weapon, because they're all 10, technically.
Just imagining some like humdrum bandit, just it's another day, and then all of a sudden the hobgoblin starts screaming and whipping a glaive around his head, just starts beheading people that are trying to take cover 20 feet away and still getting tagged. Just this wild, like, what? Like, ululation? Ululation?
I think? But yeah, bugbears are cool, dude.
Yeah, ululation.
Ululation.
It's a long, wavering, high-pitched vocal sound resembling a howl with a trilling quality.
Nice. Yeah. So, yeah. It's literally like lunging attack adds 5. Reach gives you another 5 to whatever your base is. So literally, yeah, you can go 20 feet with a bugbear if you're a battle master bugbear. Really fun. So let's continue.
The combatant. In Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, this is a little bit different. When looking through the rules, it really does seem like if you want to attack someone 10 feet away from you and remain in the same square from which you started, you would need to move 5 foot closer to the opponent, attack them, and then 5 foot back to the square you started from, using up 10 feet of your 30-foot movement distance in the round.
And provoking an attack of opportunity.
I was saying before, if you are this close to your opponent, it is a dangerous distance, which is true. But it's not to say you can't fight your opponent, be in the bind, even grapple and do things being this close. No, absolutely you can do it. And you can switch around doing, lots of different attacks right here, okay? And you can defend yourself adequately enough. It's just a lot more difficult because it is so easy to hit your opponent right here. But no, you can engage in combat at that distance. It's just when you are facing off, before you get really close and start to do some actions, the standard distance and comfortable distance, the measure in which you keep to your opponent is around this, 10 foot. And just while I think of it, I generally prefer meters over feet. I think feet is a little antiquated. I know I'm such an elitist, right?
If it was just his hand, his argument kind of works, but in some of his examples, he's literally almost entirely in the next square. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got it. Or Texas. Yep.
But for a that's based around medieval-like themes, especially Dungeons & Dragons, something like that, using feet and inches is far more appropriate because meters didn't exist back then. And technically, did feet really exist in the same way? No, they use different measurements, but feet and inches is more appropriate. It just fits a little better. So that's why I'm perfectly fine in doing 5-foot ranges and stuff like that for this video, because in the context of D&D, role-playing games and all that stuff. The next thing that I want to point out is that whenever I change my kind of ensemble, I do get a lot of questions as to, where'd you get that shot? Yeah, because sometimes people like it. And this new gambeson is from Steel Mastery. I think it's pretty darn cool. That's why I got it. Option to remove sleeves, and so when it's a blazing hot day like this, I can remove the sleeves and wear something a bit more airy, because you might also notice I'm wearing a fake chainmail printed shirt and pants. And these are my own design. I sell these. You can get them through my Teespring store. I designed them.
I know it's not a sponsor, but I'm just gonna let him say this stuff because I'm not gonna skip through it because boy make good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Go buy.
Let boy get money.
Yeah, let boy get money. He do good thing. I like him. He do. I'm not gonna let Audible have a free thing on this, without talking to us. But I'll let him.
Jeff Bezos has gotten enough of my money.
Exactly. So.
And a full print t-shirt thing. And for when it's really hot like this, something like this is brilliant. And it isn't a perfect analog, of course. Doesn't compare to the real thing, but the real thing is so darn heavy, especially in weather like this. I'd have heat stroke by now. I'd be so exhausted. And so it serves its purpose, and I think it's really cool. So if you're interested, chainmail, print, t-shirts, pants, also hoodies, my Teespring store, link in the description. And of course, Still Mastery for the Gamberson, which is cool. And as well, Audible, the sponsor of this video, as I mentioned, because if you do the Audible one, you can get something for free, which is awesome.
Oh my God.
Then, how would these realities actually come into, you know, the gameplay of the role-playing game itself? And well, what if you have something barring your path that spans about 5 feet? Could be a small stream, it could be a couple of things in the way, and the fact or notion that you can't still hit your opponent, someone 10 feet away from you, is contradicted.
Okay, that...
Yeah.
Despite the fact that you are on like tiptoes and on 1 foot, I find that a more acceptable reason than lunging bodily into the next square.
Oh, absolutely. It looks like as soon as you get to the edge of that square and you try to hit, you might actually hit them. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, because, and my logic for this, when I asked, like, why do I have to be 5 feet away, like, my arm is 3 feet, a short sword is 3 feet.
Yep.
That's 6 feet right there. I'm in his square.
Yeah.
And it was just like, don't worry about it. And I was like, okay, sure, cool, whatever.
It's again, and to be fair, like when your arm is fully extended, you have much less like ability to really utilize the weapon
to finally control it.
Exactly. So I understand, and that's why we've forth the fix that we did for your homebrew.
Spans about 5 feet. Could be a small stream, it could be a couple of things in the way, and the fact or notion that you can't still hit your opponent, someone 10 feet away from you, is contradicted by physical reality. You can actually do it. And so if the player says, what if I just lean or reach really hard, the answer saying, the rules don't allow it, is very unsatisfying, because that's not what you can do in reality. And I personally think Game Masters should always be open to having exceptions in rules for stuff like this that are just logical and to reward player creativity.
I totally agree with you, yes.
The next really odd thing about Dungeons & Dragons combat is the idea of the round order. Now, technically, a round is supposed to last 6 seconds, and within that 6 seconds, you can move 30 feet, do an attack or an action, it can vary, and depending on what level, you can actually get away with more attacks in the round. First of all, let's challenge the idea of moving 30 feet in 6 seconds. So 30 feet would be 5, 10, 15, so I would get to this square, and then 20... 25 and 30.
So 30
and that would be
safely.
My range of motion in 6 seconds.
I swear to God, if you sprint.
Let's listen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So at a casual pace, yes. So I think that is actually mostly realistic. And if you're sprinting, you can move double the distance, which works quite well. But what doesn't work well is that the round operates.
So yeah, just a note. I agree. Like it's 6 seconds is fine. I see nothing wrong with moving 30 feet in 6 seconds. Totally fine.
It's in a successive order between whoever is engaged in the round. And so if I'm in this square, and I move to attack and then move back to this square, which is my full range of movement and a single attack, well, then technically I'm not standing here for another 6 seconds for my opponent to do whatever they're going to do, and then for the next person in the round to do what they're doing, and so on and so forth. And I'm just kind of standing here. Now,
yeah, he brings up this where he's saying, like what I've said before, that it's more of a turn-based thing in the sense of everybody's just standing there for 6 seconds at a time, right? This is hard. This is hard to like justify, you know?
Yeah, I understand it does seem funky, but do bear in mind that the entire round in the logic of the game world is happening simultaneously.
Yeah.
You're moving away from the monster at the same time as that monster is moving up and attacking you.
Yes. Actually, I do have something to kind of counter it now that I think about it. The round is the sequence of turns from initiative 20 to 1 and then back to 20. That's the round. Your turn is not 6 seconds. The round is 6 seconds.
Yes.
So
everyone has their turn within that same 6 seconds.
Exactly. And that's how I can justify it all happening at once, so we're not actually waiting for each other. Because
Yeah.
otherwise,
Bec-
we're waiting 30 minutes for somebody to take a turn.
Yeah.
According to some people.
and and like I understand it does seem a bit weird that if you're not keeping in fact if you're not keeping in mind the fact that we are essentially rewinding time
Mhm.
at the end of everyone's turn to have a round happen, it can seem weird that like why am I just standing still when
Yeah.
other people are doing things? And the reason for that is you got to give it a bit of suspension of disbelief because
Exactly.
this is the best that we can do with tabletop on paper
Mhm.
outside of LARPing.
Exactly. That's exactly what I would say. Fucking. Yeah. You have to. You
Like,
have to
like yeah,
suspend your
yeah,
disbelief. There's nothing. You're
you
literally
gotta,
playing
you
this.
got, you just, you gotta meet me halfway.
Yeah. Yeah.
I understand this is a gameplay mechanic, and we see it in video games all the time, but for a role-playing game, you can do it in such a way in which it's not unrealistic. It'll take too long to explain it in detail, but just briefly, the way that we've tackled
Too
it in,
long?
say, Cogent Roleplay is that everyone's actions happened at mostly the same time in the round.
Yeah, you're right. He did say it would take too long. You have literal creative control over your video, Shad. Sorry, but I have to be consistent.
Shad, you regularly appear on EFAP, an 11-hour stream. I think you know better.
I think you can take the time to make the thing entirely. But I understand you want it to be not that long of a video, but man, just take the time. I believe in you.
And we do that having a mechanic called the combat roll. And in your roll, you say what you're going to do, which is going to technically happen at the same time other people do it. And if you are lower on the initiative order, opponents can say what they're going to do in response to what you're going to do at the same time to try and stuff up your actions, because if they have high reflex, they can react to what you're trying to do, and that's one of the benefits of reflex. And so if I wanted to jump on a table and my opponent has a higher reflex, he can say, I'm going to run to the table and flip it over. And so all the players are technically declaring what they're doing in the at the same time, and then they do what is called a combat roll, which stands as their roll for the entire round and against every other opponent's combat roll. And so even if I'm getting attacked by multiple opponents, I don't need to make successive rolls to adjust for them all. The combat roll technically stands for your quality of actions throughout that entire space of time against everyone, and it works really well. We've played.
Okay, so let's just go over that real quick for anybody that couldn't follow it very easily. So basically, everybody makes their combat roll. And so if your combat roll is higher than somebody else's, you're all declaring what you can do, but people that have higher combat rolls can do things in response to people who have lower combat rolls. It's basically what it boils down to as far as I understand it. And it makes it pretty easy to like trip up the monster if they have a lower combat roll than you, because they could be doing something and then you just like they're trying to I guess spit at you. I don't know. And then your reaction is to punch them in the throat so that they choke on their spit and their tongue and they go further around. I don't know if that's a thing you can do, but that's my example.
You can see the person rearing back for a headbutt and then duck out of the way.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
I like that. It emphasizes reaction more than anything.
Yeah, and it's neat. It's a neat system.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
I think it'd be a cool system to play with at some point. But yeah,
I'd be down to give it a one shot.
Tested it at tabletop time, and it's brilliant, and it's more realistic and satisfying as a result. So instead of movement, I hit you.
Not inherently.
It's your turn. You can try and hit
realistic,
me. Oh, you missed my turn.
Cool.
Oh, double hit.
Again, he's now putting forth the whole it's turn based in the sense of you wait, they hit you. No, again, we've already said this.
Guys, the thing I made is really fun.
Yeah, well, to be fair, it's fine. I understand what he's saying because he's trying to show a more realistic combat scenario, but he has misunderstood what the combat is in Dungeons and Dragons. It used to be fucking 10 minutes for a round, and everyone was doing their thing all together in AD&D. But
yeah.
But
that was primarily for exploring dungeons.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, now it's 6 seconds, and again, the round in total is 6 seconds. Each individual turn is happening in those 6 seconds.
Though technically, I believe AD&D the rounds in combat were different from a round out of combat.
It might be, yeah. I don't remember enough
Because
to
it
comment on
doesn't
it.
it doesn't make sense for I move at a person and swing my sword at him for 10 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. All I remember was that some rounds were 10 minutes in AT&D. Please correct me if I am wrong.
Haha, a bit more damage. Your turn. It plays out far more realistically. But this isn't to say you should go check out Cogent Roleplay. I suggest you do. I think you'll get a kick out of it. But it's also a way to demonstrate that it can be done more realistically in D&D and in any role-playing system you might be developing. Fighting multiple opponents is a very interesting thing when you try and visualize how it must play out according to Dungeons & Dragons rules. And it again comes off as very unrealistic and unsatisfying.
Well, again, you unfortunately don't know how they work as well as you think you do. Unfortunately, it is, again, 6 seconds is the entire round.
Because if you have your primary opponent and say, you're in the adjacent square and you attack them, and then the other opponents are attacking you, either you're standing there doing nothing and let it bouncing off your armor, or if you do a more kind of interpretive way of looking at the armor class, and so if they hit under 10, that would be a miss because the base armor class is 10. If you have a dexterity bonus, if they hit within the range of your dexterity bonus, you dodge, and if they hit within the range of your armor, as it goes up, it would bounce off the armor. And so there are interpretive ways. You could be doing this, you could be doing that, trying to dodge. But with how long the rounds could technically play out, because every single person's move should, by the rules, stand for 6 seconds, it just comes off feeling very janky and awkward. And it's always kind of annoyed me that you couldn't just do one wide sweep and try and hit multiple opponents around you.
You can.
And look, you can do it with certain feats in Dungeons and Dragons, but even a noob should be able to just do a wide slash to offend
a noob
wide
can,
area.
yes, but can they do it well enough to hit an enemy reliably?
Exactly. I feel like in order for them to be able to do damage to something, it makes sense that they would get the feat because that represents training in the ability to actually swing wildly, as he put it, but actually with precision to damage somebody, actually connect and do damage.
It's the same thing as like not everyone's trained with martial weapons. You can't just pick up a sword and use it. Yeah, sure, any Joe Schmo off the street can pick a sword up off a whack and start chopping, but it's not good.
No, it won't be as effective as somebody who actually knows how to use the weapon, right? And I agree to some extent just because of the way that D&D is that, yeah, somebody could get our lucky crit, I guess, quote unquote, and do damage while swinging wildly. That would be something that I could see being used to make this argument more so. But again, the chances of that happening with somebody who is untrained in a weapon, and to be fair as well, it does depend on the person, because any fighter, I would say, it would be way more likely for them to be able to do that without the feat, I guess. So, but again, have they gone through the specific training of, in this situation, you go and you swing and you can aim for certain, like, appendages or joints or where the plating isn't, so that you can actually, like, hurt somebody. It's something that, with your own, like, knowing of how armor works, if somebody swings wildly, I feel like they're way more likely to hit the armor and, like, just have it, just scrape
off.
More scrape as they're going, and just scrape along each person without doing any damage to them.
Yes. And that's why I said, like, you can cleave, but can you do it well?
Yeah.
And so again, this is one of those things that logically you should be able to do, even if you're a level 1 noob, but the rules say you can't, which is annoying. A point of reference that I'll now demonstrate from Cogent Roleplay, and again,
you can also reflavor it as, I'm going to take a wild sweep that glances across like most everyone that I hit, but the guy in front of me is
my target.
Really going to get... Yeah, exactly.
And he's even put forth that you can do the things for theater, like describing things in different ways to make it like more
Mhm.
involved. So why not just do that, Chad? I don't know.
And again, this is just an example to perhaps give you inspiration, but also to show you that the system that my brother and I made actually works really well, is that your single combat roll for the round, if it is higher than a certain number of opponents that are attacking you, you can technically damage them if your combat roll was high enough, regardless of your level. And this very much depends on your opponent's combat roll, because they're all kind of rolled to kind of play out at the same time. There are exemptions when things have to play kind of one after the other, but everything essentially tries to play out at the same time, which makes the round dynamic and also the descriptive way of just the role play really engaging and fun. And so if you get a really high combat roll and this opponent and your two other opponents got really low combat rolls, to the points where you get what's called an victory level. And depending on the victory level, you can choose to trip, to damage, to do any number of things. And so you could say, if you got enough of an advantage against all your opponents to trip them all up, you could say, all right, because you got a high enough roll, then you can say, add the descriptive kind of element to it, which gets you really engaged in the role play. You can say,
Why couldn't you do that with regular Dungeons and Dragons, man? Like, I know it's not going to damage them, but why can't you just do that so that you can remain more engaged as you need to? I'm saying you, specifically, because I feel like this is, again, for you.
Because no.
Oh.
you just leant down, you did this wide sweep, knocking at all your opponent's feet, and afraid of the blade, they either jumped, tangled over, or you hit with the flat, and you knock them all over in that single round with one action. And
so, okay.
And while you were kneeling on the ground, the three people who were all around you went, look at that, an enemy I can stab down into.
Down, yeah.
Ooh,
This is
free kill.
This is the thing, Shad. I understand what you're trying to do is give more of an epic action, I guess. Make it more this feels less realistic though. Like, I don't honestly, like, obviously there's probably some skill tests or something to try to trip them, right? And so you have to do that one after another, but my question then becomes, if you don't trip the first guy, how the fuck are you tripping the other two? Because if you just go with, and as you've put forth, with the blade sideways, you're going with the flat of the blade, you hit the first guy in the legs, he doesn't fall. I guess you could then say you're sweeping under as he jumps, and with that he falls because he didn't properly align himself with the ground again.
Yeah.
Right?
Or
It's-
just you slap his legs with the flat of the blade, he goes ow, and
Yeah,
then he stabs and kills you.
But then yeah, you continue on and then still topple over the other guys as then he just stabs down into the base of your neck. Right?
So, quick question,
Yeah,
right?
I would love to.
If we're talking about how crucial it is that realism in D&D combat be upheld at all points, are we also going to do away with hit points and pretty much have people go down and die as soon as they get slashed a single time?
No.
And then, as such, is that going to change the meta where we are no longer letting ourselves get surrounded by enemies and are instead fighting shoulder to shoulder with our allies?
Now, I understand what you're saying, but I would say that I think that's a little unfair, because I don't think he's not talking about that. He's only talking about the specifics, like the specific examples that he's giving, right? And he has made a system where, and again, we haven't read the system, but I assume that there's hit points. Right? Because, again, it is a game, and you make it more realistic, not entirely realistic. Right? So, I don't know, I assume he would also say the same thing, in defense, to say that he's not advocating for it to be literally, if you get hit with the sword, you die. Right? I don't think that's something that he would completely advocate for. I think still having the hit points there to have it be you're taking damage, but you don't die immediately thing would still be like applicable. But at the same time, you do bring up a good point because we don't know. But I don't know. It's one of those things where I feel like giving him a little bit there
Sort of
is fine.
follow up tangentially related question, Alejo.
Okay.
What would you think about a system? It could even be done in D&D,
Okay.
but say perhaps getting rid of the HP system, how it currently is, where like you roll your hit dice when you level up, and just make it so that you have some classes that gain 2 hit points when they level up, some classes that gain 3, and some classes that gain 4.
Mhm.
And then make it so like at level 1, right?
Mhm.
You have 2 hit points.
Okay.
At level 2, you'll have 4. At level 3, you'll have 6. And after that, you're like, okay, maybe I can take a short sword now. Like if someone was to attack me with it, I may live.
Mhm.
Like it would make like short swords and longbows and stuff like that
Daggers.
feel and daggers like a lot more dangerous when you can be a level 3 character and someone whips out a dagger and you go, okay, hold on now.
Yeah. So I would have to play it to figure out how I feel about it.
Yeah, this is
So
just a tangential thought. It could
no, I know.
absolutely like not work out well at all.
Yeah,
But
I feel like it's so having it be so realistic to the point of like having it be basically Call of Cthulhu, right? In the sense
Mm.
of that's the
yeah,
combat
combat
system.
bad.
Yeah, combat is really bad. Then that changes the game. We are now like it is a different kind of D&D if we do that, right? It is not
Mm.
one that is focused on combat at all. And like I'd be willing to try it and I feel like it could work if you do it well. But I don't think it would work for what people traditionally are playing D&D for.
Yeah.
You know? Would someone who's never been trained in or even seen someone do things like that even think about pulling a maneuver like that?
I'd say it's not
Yeah,
out
no.
of the question.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like it's incredibly possible that somebody would go, I would like to make all of these people fall on their backs. Right? To swing wildly. Because he's saying swing wildly, and I feel like even a child would take a sharp object and go and throw it around, right? To try to hit a
Mhm.
bunch of things that it didn't like.
Yeah.
Right? It's not too much of a stretch.
God knows I was doing sweeping attacks on the trees in backyard when I was 5 and 6.
Yeah, exactly. You take your stick and you just whip
Yeah.
yourself
Bop, 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 bop,
around.
bop, bop.
Doing
Yeah.
a whirlwind, that shit's fun. But also, you're like, eh, as a kid. It'll hit everybody.
I'm so good at fighting.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it's much of a stretch, no.
So this single bat roll can actually be applied to multiple actions in the round, and it plays out awesomely. Oh, and just the important caveat that I was demonstrating from Cogent Roleplay is that...
sorry. Before you go on to more about your game system, which sounds interesting, but I don't know if it would work. So he says it would make it turn out more awesomely, or more awesome, I guess.
Mm.
And I'm like, cool. Like, maybe,
Mm.
but that's the thing. It feels, to me, this feels less realistic. Just from putting that just straight into D&D, right? That feels less realistic to me, just offhand. In your system, it might work better. I don't know. It might make me go, I don't know about this. It feels less realistic because, again, I don't know about you, but if you are surrounded by 3 guys in a sword fight, you're basically dead.
Oh, you are fucked.
Like, and everybody has talked about this. In fact, he's even gone, I remember. Ooh, I have an example. On EFAP, I watched one where they were talking about Game of Thrones and how Game of Thrones used to be very, very particular with armor and weapons and like fighting and stuff, right?
Yep.
Remember when that was a thing?
Your swordsman teacher died because Meryl Trant had a big fucking sword and armor.
Yeah. So, but there was a scene in it where a single guy, had 2 swords, and he was surrounded by men, and he took them all out. And Shad himself was like, "Nah, that's not a thing. Like, you do not want anyone behind you ever. Like, you will die. you don't want more than 1 or 2 people on you. It's bad."
Having had to fight 2 people before,
Yeah.
like, if you're fighting 2 people, just run.
Yeah.
Just
oh,
run.
absolutely. 2-on-1 is not good odds. Quite literally. Unless you are really fucking good, like, then you might have a chance.
Like, you can do it if you are trained to fight. When
Yes.
I took karate, one of the requirements for upper level students, in particularly the test for a black belt,
Yeah.
was that you had to fight 2 other people.
There you go.
And good God, does it suck?
Makes sense. Yeah, it literally
Also, weirdly enough, fighting someone shorter than you is weird.
it tests.
You don't get used to punching down.
It tests your skill, though, and that makes sense for that because you are at your mastery, basically, of that. Well, not mastery, but you know what I mean.
Black belt is not mastery.
Yeah, no, I know, but you're at that level where you could do it, and they're testing you for that.
Every belt before black belt is the tutorial.
Yes. So again, with your thing, even in your system, I feel like I would have my hesitations because of this, right? Because again, I don't think that me against 3 people with 1 sword and maybe a shield, I might be able to take on 2. But again, that would be very I would die probably in a minute or less because I could only take on those 2 for so long. That's 2 people attacking me.
And for what it's worth, most fights don't go over 1 or 2 minutes.
Exactly, right? Like,
fighting takes a lot of energy.
Yeah, so I don't know, Shad. I don't know.
Your combat roll was only better than, say, this opponent, and your 2 other guys beat your own combat roll. Then you can adjust the descriptive way in which you describe how the round played out, or the game master gets to do it. But you can say you got a really good strike against this opponent, but because your roll wasn't high enough to, say, damage these guys, they're attacking you, but say they didn't get high enough to do a victory level against you. So again, you described in the narrative saying you're able to dodge, move around, or duck the opponents, or after you attack, you're able to sweep down and block. And so
you can do that in regular D&D as well.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes a far more narrative-driven type of role-playing, and it's a lot of fun.
I kind of jumped the gun a little bit because Jazza and I were intending on announcing this a little bit later.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is all. I believe the rest of this is talking about. He made an app. He's making an app. I don't know if it's made yet, but he's making an app that is completely free that has his entire system on it. Which this is a whole thing. We'll just play it out because this is actually something that everybody should know about, because if you want to try it out, there's a beta for it, and you know, so
hell yeah,
I'll let him talk, but yeah,
because it integrates so well with the subject of this video, it's too much of an opportunity to let pass by. And it's that Jazza and I have been working on something really huge. We will be rolling out the beta of Cogent Roleplay in the most cool, awesome way than I think anyone is expecting. When Jazza and I revisited Cogent, we both realized how great a rule system it really is. It is so simple and streamlined, yet satisfies even the most demanding of role players to give you all the options and tools you need to do anything you want. And that flexibility is held within a simple, versatile, and structured rules system that is really satisfying. So much.
This is off topic, but I really like his chair.
Yeah,
it's very pointy, and I like it.
So that we kind of feel this could be the role-playing game of the next generation. And there are a number of things that we've always focused on, making it as accessible as possible. And one of the big things that we've done from the very get-go, even with the alpha release, is that we've always made the core rulebook completely free. And now we have devoted hundreds of hours and spent thousands of dollars on making it even more accessible than ever before. And we are actually developing an actual app which will have the entire Cogent rulebook completely for free. And so you can go to the rules, and Everything is here. You can go to, the challenge levels, get all the information that you need, and this is just the scratch of the surface. We plan to integrate dynamic character sheets, cross-referencing, so you can just, if you need to look up a rule, one, touch, and bang, it'll take you to what rule you need. You'll be able to make all the roles that you need to in the game through the app as well, so you could play the whole game with this app, and we're going to be making it available completely for free. There's a little bit more polishing that needs to be done on it, okay? And we want your help in rolling out the beta of Cogent Roleplay. And so if you're interested in giving it a go, the alpha rulebook is still available at cogentroleplay.com. You can go download it for free, get involved in the community. We're launching a Cogent Roleplay Discord server where you can give us feedback and updates and how you're going, and we can also test things with you for the rollout of the beta that's also going to be coming out on the app as well. And so this is hugely exciting. Sign up for updates at cogentroleplay.com as well, and make Cogent Roleplay possibly, one of the best, most accessible, versatile, dynamic tabletop role-playing game systems in the world.
And so there we...
Yeah.
So
check it out.
Having just attempted to download it, I cannot find it on the Google Play Store.
It's because it's beta, so I assume you have to get the APK, really.
Yeah.
Hang on. Second. I'll in fact. And I'll put it in the chat as well. Hey you out there listening to us. I will allow you to get this easily. Let's see.
Yeah, you can just post it in the stream. I got it open.
Gotcha. CogentRoleplay.com. I assume you get it through that. Oh yeah, it seems like it. I don't know. CogentRoleplay.com. But check it out. It seems neat. It might be through their Discord that you get the app. I don't know. It doesn't look like you can really through this. Still in alpha. It's not in beta. That's why. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, they haven't put out the beta yet, but keep it on your radar out there. Seems really cool. Just from the fact that it's trying to be more realistic, and that seems neat. I don't know how well it does it, because we haven't tried it. But yeah.
There you go, and I've probably been able to tell, let me just get that in there, I have one or two pet peeves with the Dungeons & Dragons combat system, but look, this is not to say that the system doesn't work. It does, okay? And I'm not saying that every rule should be thrown out. And even though I was giving a comparison to other role-playing systems that I feel address the things that you can do, in the kind of what could a person actually do in these situations, I feel it does address it better. I think there are some little small tweaks that you can give to the D&D rule system to make it work a little bit better, like the range in which you can actually hit opponents. How it addresses multiple opponents and turn order is always a tricky one. But as I said, I'm not saying you should throw out all the rules, okay? And it's a game, you'll have fun with it regardless. But, I think giving more options to the players, giving them the option to be able to explore all the possibilities that should logically be available to their characters is a really good move. And so this is just kind of, like I said, a bit of a demonstration to show some of their weaknesses and a bit of holes here and there of how realistic the Dungeons & Dragons combat system really is. So thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. And of course, I hope to see you on the next video on Shadiversity. So until that time, farewell.
So overall, some points I agree with.
Yep.
Some points I majorly disagree with.
Yep.
But overall, I'm excited about a new RPG.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this video is swell. I think it's fine. Like there's nothing inherently wrong with it. It's just a couple of examples that he has that are misinformed, as well as seem to be not entirely meshing with his points just because of the actual examples of him lunging.
Though he does seem to know his rule set pretty well for 3.5.
For 3.5, yeah. But he, again, in 3.5, how long do rounds take? That's the question, right? Is it 6 seconds for the round? And again, everything is all in the round. And I believe it was all 6 seconds. But again, individual turns are not the round. So, I don't know. But yeah, that's Shad. So go check him out. Go look at his stuff if you like it. And
Highly recommend him.
yeah, super recommend him. It's just this, a couple of points that we disagree with, and that is not a bad thing. Okay. How you feeling, dude? You good for another, or what are you thinking?
I'm good for another.
Okay. Well, then let's take an intermission. I'm not going to stop the stream. I'm not going to, do anything funky. We're still going to be here. We're going to take an intermission, so go get some water, go use the bathroom. I need to do one of those things. I'll let you guess. We will be right back.
All right, guys. If he comes back and he's not like sipping like a Coke or like sipping through a straw or something, I won't say anything, but we'll all know what happened.
Oh my god! don't do this to me. I'm not very.
See, now you have to drink water, but then I'll just raise the point that it could be a red herring.
Oh my god! I'll be right back. All right, what's going on?
Not much. Just been chilling.
Nice. Stream is so delayed for me. It took 5 minutes for my messages to come up. Oh wait. Oh, before that. Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah,
wait.
mine's. To be fair, I'm watching along the stream too, and mine was pretty delayed. We were well into intermission when we were finishing up Shad's video.
Oh really? Okay. I'll put it on ultra low latency next time. See how that goes. But okay. It was good before. Weird. So what's okay? Still delayed 5 minutes, but telling me one point on the bar there's been a buffering without skips that seems to have added up. Tiny bits of buffering. That sucks, dude. Sorry. Yeah. Hopefully we can fix that at least on our end. All right. Well, welcome back, everybody.
Guys, he got a drink. Clearly, you know what that means.
I also got food.
He
'cause I haven't eaten today. So, next up, let's do a video about Encumbrance, because that's realism. There it is. So, let's bring back an old favorite. It's DM Lair.
For you see a
Yeah,
Yay.
you totally baited me.
Okay.
I thought it was gonna be Shad's video on Encumbrance.
Nope. I didn't know he had one.
Oh.
Well, okay, it was how much can you logically carry? But no, yeah, no, I unfortunately, no. I found this video.
Yay!
Yep.
Ooh.
So this is.
Can I change my answer for if I'm up for another one?
Nope. You're locked in. This is tracking carrying capacity and encumbrance in D&D. Is it a waste of time?
Aw. I don't know. Is this video with a 2-minute sponsorship?
Yikes, dude. It's not. He doesn't actually. He's not actually sponsored with this. It's a 2-minute skit. So. Yeah.
I feel I should apologize, but no apology will be forthcoming, at least for now. Based on the quality of the video, I might choose to apologize.
Exactly. You gotta wait until you've seen it. So let us begin. Encumbrance. It's a thing.
Yeah, it is.
I love how much pain I've put you in just for.
Dude, this is no. If it were Boo, it would be pain. For
It's
me,
true.
this is just demoralizing.
That's true.
Before you see a room full of treasure. Silver, gold, platinum coins glimmer at you. Chests full of magic items. And rubies the size of small dragons.
That's nice and all, but what about the copper pieces?
What are you holding back on us for? Yeah, okay, there are several chests full of copper pieces too, I guess.
This is so exciting! We're gonna be as rich as kings and
Yeah,
queens.
and Fat Cat can be the queen.
Yeah, that's great. So, how are you gonna carry it all?
How we always do. We put it in our backpacks.
And how are you going to do that? There's far too much here for you all to carry.
Oh, come on, Mr. Dungeon Master.
You know, I would immediately go, oh, it's an illusion. I gotta say, because, like, that's a lot of stuff.
Eh.
A lot of stuff. He's put so much emphasis on it. Either an illusion or some sort of trap.
Don't get me wrong, I have myself considered the possibility of making like a platinum statue
Mm-hmm.
and being like, yeah, there's a platinum statue in the room, and they're like, sick, and I'm like, it's bigger than you, and they go, fuck.
See, no, like one statue that's way big, that would be, I would go, okay, well, you're now going like, how are you guys gonna do this, right? Like, and I'm over here going, okay, yeah, I'm gonna check it for traps, but like, yeah, that's just a single statue. No, he said like so many things, chests full of things. It's crazy.
Sir, don't you know that players hate screwing around with carrying capacity and encumbrance?
Yeah,
I don't.
even Fat Cat has a bag of holding in her stomach.
You know, back in my day,
Oh, yeah.
half of the fun of playing D&D was figuring out how to carry all of the copper pieces back to town.
Well, you know what, old man? That sucks, and you
Yeah.
suck.
Even if you won't stay.
Wow, okay. I didn't watch the skit when I was watching this because I just skipped over it. Calm down
Fair.
there.
Dead and shut your mouth. You know what? I'm about sick of the newbie siding with our dungeon master.
That's, oh my god.
They're caricatures.
I know, but still, come on.
Right on. Let's hope he stays dead this time.
Now, Mr. Dungeon Master, is there still too much treasure for us to carry back to town?
No, it's not a problem at all.
Nice tone-setting
Welcome
music
to the
too,
DM
by
Lair.
the way.
I'm Lucar, and I've been
Yeah, the entire video I was hearing the YouTuber royalty-free music, and I was like, oh, nice.
in Dungeon Master School. On this channel, I give practical Dungeon Master advice that you can implement at your game table. Today in the Lair, we're going to be talking about carrying capacity and encumbrance, something that I'm sure everybody just loves to death. like probably not. Actually, despite how biased I just made myself sound, I am going to give this as fair treatment as I possibly can. We're going to cover 4 things: the advantages of using carrying capacity and encumbrance, the disadvantages of using them, different approaches to tracking carrying capacity in your game, and how to determine whether or not you should track it, because sometimes it's not a bad idea to do so. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the revised carrying capacity mechanic that I myself developed as a sort of middle ground between rules-heavy tracking and the ease of not tracking it. There's a link below where you can grab my revised carrying capacity rules
So
for
far,
free on Drive
very
RPG,
promising
and it basically
outline.
gives Dungeon Masters a way to implement carrying capacity
Waiting for it to fuck
without
up.
making it too tedious for their players. Oh, and don't forget, I have live streams every Monday and Wednesday and Friday if you want to ask any questions or just hang out. A link to my Twitch channel is conveniently placed below. All right, let's do this. For anyone not aware of this whole carrying capacity and encumbrance thing and how it works, carrying capacity is basically a limit of what your character can carry in the game, and the idea is that you would keep track of everything you're carrying and how much it weighs, and keep the total weight added up. That sounds like fun now, doesn't it? And then encumbrance is a mechanic whereby if you are carrying too much stuff based on your character's strength score, you might suffer disadvantages such as decreased movement, hernias, spinal hemorrhaging, and ultimately death. Now, I may have just made some of those things up, so you should probably look up the rules for it in the player handbook to, you know, keep me honest. Advantages.
Or you could tell us the rules in your video about the system. But okay. I guess encouraging us to read the player's handbook is good in its way.
Of tracking carrying and enforcing encumbrance. The number one advantage is realism. So if that's something that's important to you in your role-playing game, this is an important consideration. Does it break verisimilitude when all the PCs are carrying around entire dungeons on their...
You used verisimilitude.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's a word.
No, I know.
Nothing wrong with it.
No, I know, but why?
It's like
why
it's like saying deleterious.
Yeah, I guess, but still, it's weird. Why was it?
their backs. Does it get your goat? Annoy the crap out of you? The fact is that for many players, realism is a super important consideration, and thus carrying capacity and encumbrance is huge for them. That's like a play on pun. All right, just keep going. Next.
Wait, hold on. I actually missed it.
Yeah, I don't know what he said.
All the PCs are carrying around entire dungeons on their backs. Does it get your goat? Annoy the crap out of you? The fact is that for many players, realism is a super important consideration, and thus carrying capacity and encumbrance is huge for them. That's like a play on.
Oh, yeah.
I'm confused.
Carrying capacity is huge. The pounds of stuff that they can carry is a lot.
Oh. Okay.
Just keep going. Next, some players really enjoy tracking carrying capacity and enforcing encumbrance. Now, I will never be able to fully understand why personally, but I do recognize that all people are different and have their own personalities and preferences. So, some players do really enjoy it, and I've always been of the opinion that if your players like something, dungeon masters should strongly consider including it as part of their game.
Sure. Yeah, no, actually, I agree with that. Strongly consider it. Absolutely.
I will say, in general, the part where I like encumbrance versus not is, and this is just kind of weird for me, but as soon as it starts affecting my stats, I'm like, oh boy, I hate this. As soon as you're like, well, your max swim speed is this instead, or oh, your max dex score is this, I go, fuck, I hate this.
There's no
I would rather. I'm talking video games in general, not
gotcha.
just RPGs. Or rather RPGs in general, not D&D in particular.
Gotcha.
I
don't remember.
I would rather be told, find some space for this to fit physically, and if it can physically fit, then go for it.
Oh yeah, the RE4 carrying case.
Yes.
Hell yeah. I feel it.
Like, give me a 100-pound ball of lead, but make it small in my backpack.
So,
I realize it's not realistic, but I hate having my stats lowered.
Yeah, and in D&D, it doesn't lower your stats, so it literally only takes away your movement speed, and then, again, it just makes things harder to do. That's it. So, thankfully, it doesn't actually lower your stats. But... yeah, no, I personally enjoy the encumbrance thing just because, I don't know, keeping track of that is easy, like super easy, barely an inconvenience, because you just, you add numbers together, and then you have it on your sheet, and then you reference how many numbers are on your sheet, you know, like, it's just like, because, at least for, no, even in the character sheet in 5th edition, like they show all of the, or they have enough space where you can write pounds, right, next to your equipment. Technically, actually, I would say in 5th edition, the equipment space is way too small. I would honestly say make it the features and traits section, and then just keep the additional features and traits section as its thing.
So actually, someone last night, hold on, I got a character sheet, and I will sort of screen cap the bottom half of it. Because she was like, I have all of the stuff that I want, and I'm like, do as you want. I always use features and traits for stuff, and as such, this is her character sheet. Posting it private. You. There we go.
Jeez, yeah, it's fair. Yeah, you can see it on
Because,
stream.
and part of this is because she just had burglars pack, and when she sent it to me,
yeah.
she's like, "Is this good?" And I'm like, "Well, okay. I would recommend you write out everything in the burglars pack.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to. Again, if you can memorize exactly what you have in that burglars pack when like the shit hits the fan and the cards are down and the jig is up,
Yep.
Go for it. I typically write out everything I have, and that's why on like Boris's page, I have a literal whole notebook page of gear, and then
Yeah,
backpack,
exactly.
500-pound weight, what I can have in it, belt, weights halved, and then equipped, and then everything I have there, and then a little tab off to the side, off to the side for my money.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say, for those who oh wait, I'm looking at the thing. Hold on, something. The audio stream's current bitrate 0 is lower than the recommended bitrate. Oh. Okay.
Cool.
But the audio is not at 0, though. If you guys, once you guys hear this, let me know if you can still hear us fine. Also, Pizza Funk, you put a message and it was retracted, and I don't know why. If you did that, then okay. But if that was an auto thing, that sucks. Anyway, because I don't know how to work the chat thing yet, so I'll figure out what it does. Anyway,
I'm sending you also a photo of Boris's gear.
Okay.
For when that actually uploads.
Yeah, but you're I would say, yeah, definitely using another page is one of the ways you get past all this stuff of like there's not enough space. The other thing that I would say is easier. Let me...
Quantity, weight of each.
Yeah.
What's where, so then that way I know like I can take things that are off my belt in combat, but I can't use stuff in my backpack.
Yep. And like you can put a little note of your actual like, you know, encumbrance loads basically right next to it. And
that's why I have the weight 27.5 times
yes.
0.5 is 13.75, stuff like that.
Yes. And for those who don't want to use another piece of paper, just turn a sheet over, because you have if you're printing them out on one page, like one page each for your sheet, then you probably have space. But if you're not doing that, then turn the page, the like one page that will have a back that doesn't have something on it, over, right? I can still hear you. Don't know how delayed it still is. Super delayed. Fun. Anyway.
Oh, fun. Yeah, that's like a full, what, minute and a half, 2 minutes?
I think so. Sorry about that, everyone, but I don't know what I have the bitrate up real high and it shouldn't have changed. I don't know. Next time, again, ultra low latency. We'll see how that works. Anyway. You were gonna say.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I just realized that on the character sheet, let me reopen it again. Where are you? There you are. They're playing a Kenku. Eyes yellow, skin feathers, hair none.
But yeah, so yeah, encumbrance is really easy to just keep track of. I don't see why it's so needed. I guess just because everybody wants to hold everything. I understand that, but then you just go get a bag of holding when you can. You know?
And then there's also like, not only do you want to hold everything, but you don't want to constantly be like, all right, I have thrown a javelin, let me adjust my weight. I have picked up a 5-pound rock, let me adjust my weight.
So I don't do that in
combat.
I do. In combat, right?
Oh, I 100% do.
Oh. I don't, it usually what I'm doing doesn't like affect my weight that much, I guess, in combat. So Not sure.
But yes, you also pick pebbles off the ground and throw them at
Well,
people.
but I also just mean in general in D&D, when I play D&D, what I do doesn't usually, like, if I usually make myself up to the light load point, and then I stay there. Like, I don't do anything
Yeah.
to add weight to that, and I don't do, unless I really need to, and I don't do anything to take away from weight for that, significantly enough that it would matter, because I'm going to go pick that javelin up again, you know? Like, it'll still be the same.
Yeah, that's true.
So, there's no reason why I should be doing it on the fly, unless I do pick up something 25 pounds later, you know?
Mhm.
So,
Vice versa, of course. Dungeon masters like it, you put it in your game.
Well, in that case, the old man commoner can track his carrying capacity, and the rest of us don't need to.
But, how much carrying capacity does a corpse have?
Next, and I feel like this is actually a good point in favor of tracking carrying capacity. It makes dumping strength less desirable and gives wizard.
Okay, I know this is only like tangentially related, right?
welcome to the podcast.
But when he says how much carrying capacity does a corpse have,
Hmm?
it reminded me of when I played a necromancer in Skyrim and didn't want to be bothered carrying all of my potions and armor and weapons and shields everywhere.
Okay, yeah.
So I just got it so that zombies didn't turn to ash when they died. And I would just kill my zombie so he was a corpse on the ground, throw all of my gear into him, raise him back, and be like, all right, come on.
Wow, did that actually work?
Yeah,
That's
no. NPCs don't have carrying capacity in Skyrim.
Oh,
They
know that.
only have what they will allow you to carry if they're like a follower, but
Oh.
they don't technically need to have it. That's why
Weird.
you can put them right up to capacity and then give them like say an important item and
Mhm.
well actually no because quest items don't technically have weight in Skyrim anyway.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
that dragon plate that says weighs 25 pounds actually weighs 0. It's just lying to you.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's a valid question.
I guess, yeah. Retract my comment because my typing skills are trash. Okay. Didn't mean to like point it out and all that stuff. You're fine. You're fine.
Didn't mean to blow up your spot. We absolutely did.
Players and others to have a higher strength score. So if you want strength to be more meaningful in the game, this is one way to do it. However, I will say that if you're going to try to fix the issue of dumping strength, you should probably address the issue of dumping all of the other ability scores too, and make sure you're being fair to all of your players. What do you think? Is it
Wait, how is making strength technically
Yeah,
on
that's
par not fair to everyone?
Yeah, and
Don't understand that point.
also like again, this is me speaking right now,
Yeah.
but if the DM told me, "Hey, you can keep track of your carrying capacity if you want and choose to limit yourself,
Mm.
or you cannot," I'm going to go, well, I would enjoy it if we were supposed to all stay under a certain carrying capacity, sure, but I'm not going to intentionally make my character worse, so I guess I am just Minecraft Steve now.
Right, it's so this is the thing about this kind of situation, because I don't think it makes you worse, right? It just makes you limited. And that's not
Mhm.
necessarily a flaw. I mean, it can be, I guess, but it puts you...
Applying a limit to something limitless is making it worse.
Yes, but...
Making a god mortal
Yes,
is making him worse.
yes, but does that not also constitute being a role play, like enhancing your role play more and also your decision making, because you are now taking that into account? And so like you're now like it's kind of like every flaw is a gift, so we now have to like use this in a way that it makes my character make it stands out more.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe. Maybe not necessarily.
I would say that it is more than it isn't. I don't know, because I feel like, again, you obviously, if you're in that situation where you don't have to, obviously you don't have to, but at the same time, like, why not have it there so that you can then actually be concerned when you are coming upon this kind of treasure room that's full of a bunch of stuff? Like, then you have to think about, okay, well, now we know about this place. Maybe we either make it our base because there's so much here, how are we going to take it everywhere? Or maybe we, like, hire some people to guard it, or we, something like, or not hire them to guard it because they would want to steal it. Maybe. It depends. But you then have this
I don't know.
situation.
Stealing from gods is questionable.
Well, you never know, right? Yeah, so again, like, I feel like it introduces a scenario where then you have to think more in character.
Yes.
Okay. What about round trips for Holly?
I heard the sentence end and then like was also replaying it. I'm like, yeah, that's fair.
Okay. What about round trips for hauling it? Yeah, you could do that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There are many options to do it. Absolutely. That's the thing, right? And I know the argument could be made of like, well, then you just have a bunch of round trips that you have to roleplay through, and it's like, no, you don't, unless something happens along the road, like some bandits try to jump you, right?
But then the question becomes, if we're going to not roleplay like repeat trips, what's the point in having them to begin with? Why not just say we all get it back in one trip?
For that situation itself, I mean, again, if you're doing the round trip thing, you could make it so that, like, you can build the tension with people rolling percentile die to, like, see if something happens, and then maybe it's more just to add to the suspense of, now you're rich, where are you putting all this? And now you could get jumped. And then you could also, more justify it just because it's the same thing, in the sense of, you find all this stuff, you can only carry so much. We can then go, okay, we get it back in as many trips as it takes, and that's the same as saying we take it all back in one trip. For that scenario itself, right? But again, that's in the ideal scenario where no one's going to run into any trouble, right? That's where the DM's like, okay, we're at this point of, like, we're just going to go forward, and we're not going to worry about, like, you taking, because the menial stuff usually is skipped, but I wouldn't call everything that you could do with the encumbrance system menial, especially in a certain situation of, like, you're in a dungeon, there is stuff that you want to take, and the dungeon is maybe collapsing or something, right? Like, you could have scenarios where it does mean something, and other scenarios where it doesn't matter as much, and you could do that with really any situation with any kind of system. If that makes sense.
Yeah, you can always just give them the old Skyrim treatment where it's at the end of the Thieves Guild quest line, and you're in a dungeon with a bunch of stuff to get, but it's currently flooding, and, like, you need to go.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it seems to be reduced. What seems to be reduced?
Sick. Probably the...
Oh, the lag. Or whatever. Yeah, latency. Yeah, okay, cool.
Addressing the issue of dumping...
let us know if it gets worse or better.
Yes, please.
We won't do anything to fix it because there's not much we can do on our end at the moment.
Yeah.
But we will definitely note it and keep it in mind for future broadcasts.
Exactly. This is the first one, so obviously there's going to be some hiccups. And in the future, there's going to be hiccups. And honestly, don't expect anything.
We promise nothing and deliver less.
Ability scores, make all ability scores more meaningful to all classes, a decent topic for a future video, or would I just be wasting my time? I feel like I'm probably not the first person to be like, oh, let me fix this. Finally, using carrying capacity rules incentivizes more role-playing. Your players need to consider
Sorry, wait. Oh, fixing all the stats?
Fixing stats and, like, what's dumping stats versus like just encumbrance in general, and like really the idea of being on YouTube and going, oh, let me fix things that are
Gotcha.
bad about things that I love is not unique to you.
Yeah.
It's kind of what we do too.
Yeah. Promise nothing, deliver less seems fair. Yeah. Exactly. Come on.
Questions like what they're going to take with them on their adventures and what things they're going to leave behind at their base. And how are they going to protect their massive store of loot at their base from would-be thieves?
Yeah, exactly.
They need pack animals for their adventures to be able to carry treasure hoards back to town. How will they protect their mules from the wizard when they cast Fireball? You know, basic considerations like that. Disadvantages of tracking carrying capacity.
So that actually leads me to a conversation I had with one of my players the other night because she's like, I've got enough money to buy a donkey. And I'm like, donkeys are cool. They help you carry stuff back to town from a dungeon if the dungeon is located like really far away from town. And she's like, oh, so like I should probably get it. And I'm like, well, A, do you have enough money to also buy food for the donkey? And B, are you going to leave someone behind to protect the donkey so wolves don't come by and eat it while you're in the dungeon? Maybe.
Yeah. No, it's a whole resource that you now have to protect.
Like
That
that
is an
is
investment.
And like, boy, having a beast of burden can pay off.
Oh yeah.
But do keep in mind that I, as a DM, take special joy in saying, okay, well, that's a mistake that they made this time. I'll let them off the hook this time, and I'll maybe mention a little something that's a hint, and then the second time I go, and then I roll a dice, and it's not a huge margin, and then I go, okay. And then the third time I go, hey, wow, yeah, no, that was really good that your donkey was still there. And then, like, when it happens the next time, oh, that margin's increasing.
Oh, you're not taking care of your donkey, are you?
Oh.
That's strange. Oh, you go outside and your donkey seems to be missing.
How unfortunate.
Wonder why. You could follow those tracks, I guess, and the blood trail.
Yeah, yeah, in the blood trail. Your donkey seems to have a lot of feet.
No, but it makes sense. It's perfectly natural to have that happen in some cases.
Yeah. When you keep leaving a donkey stabled outside of a dungeon because, like, you leave, come back the next day, leave in the morning, come back at night, leave in the morning, come back at night, like, that donkey's been hanging out there for, like, 5 nights straight, and, like, things are gonna start to take notice of a donkey that's tied up and unattended.
Exactly, right.
And enforcing encumbrance. Okay, I started this off by being nice to carrying capacity and encumbrance by talking about its advantages. But now I'm going to speak from the heart. It's disadvantage time. Number 1, holy crap, is tracking carrying capacity tedious and boring and not fun.
For you.
Not necessarily. How is it? I mean, I guess you could call it again, this is all for you.
It is.
It's not hard to write a single number.
I would find it safe to say that it is objectively a bit more tedious. However, some of us enjoy that.
There's that, and then also I would say, how hard is it to, when you get a new weapon, to look at how much it weighs and write that down? You know, like.
But number though.
Oh, I'm sorry. Number's bad.
Number bad.
A lot of these arguments seem very subjective depending on the situation.
I do not play math game.
Oh, sorry. Oh no. Yes.
Yeah.
They do seem very subjective, depending on the situation. That's a lot of the time what it comes down to, unfortunately. Because, I mean, unfortunately, there are a lot of claims where things are the way that they should be, but they are subjective. So they don't really have the right to say that this is how it should be.
I would say, in general, a lot of game design can come down to subjectivity being a good idea for stuff to implement. Like,
Yeah.
you do not sit down in an office at like the offices of Wizards of the Coast and say, "Okay, guys, let us make everything objectively." Like, there is a level of subjectivity for
So,
what is considered fun.
well, they're not
Um,
mutually exclusive, though.
no, of course not.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just saying looking to subjectivity can give a lot of inspiration
Yeah,
for what
and
is good and what you want to do.
right, and
And
then you
then
can
from
make
there,
it
using
into
objectivity and Occam's
yes,
razor, trim it down to what it should be in its best iteration.
exactly. It plays it again. It's in tandem. It's not.
Um, in fairness to Dungeon Dudes, he did
Dungeon.
say he was going
You
to
mean DM
speak
Lair?
from. Yeah, that guy. He said
Wow.
he was going to speak from the heart.
Sure.
So I will give him a yellow flag on
I mean,
this.
yeah, but again, he's putting these as inherent disadvantages, and like, yes, in some cases, right? Like, depends on the people.
Yeah.
I was once in a cursed game where the DM wanted us to track everything we were carrying and total weight, and then use the encumbrance rules. Yeah, it sucked. Actually, there was a lot about that game that sucked, but let's just save that little rant for a live stream or something, shall we? Anyway,
Okay, then
thankfully...
why mention
Sure.
it then? just
I
tell.
mean, in
just-
fairness, we do the same.
well, again, but we usually have it at least somewhat relevant. But yeah, you're right. We do have tangents that aren't as relevant. But again, like, even if he hasn't expounded upon it, though, he's just kind of mentioned it in passing that it doesn't add to it, I guess, at all. I don't know.
He forgot after a session or two, and the topic never came up again, and I just sort of, well, stopped tracking it. Thankfully, the DM never found out, or I'm sure he would have murdered my PC in some spectacular fashion, because, yeah, that's pretty much what he liked to do with our group. Over!
Oh,
That sucks. I'm sorry for you.
fuck.
Yeah, that's not a good DM.
Like, don't get me wrong. Keeping things sort of secret from your DM like that is a little fucky,
Kind
sure.
of bad. Yeah.
However, I in general have a rule of if your DM gives you an out, it is not bad to take it.
Yeah.
I will 50% of the time I will choose to correct and be like, hey, by the way, I should have disadvantage on this.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
And as on the other side of the screen, if I, as a DM, forget to give someone disadvantage, sometimes they're kind enough to say, "Hey, do I have disadvantage on this because of that?" And I'll say, "Oh, right, yeah, thanks for reminding me.
Yeah.
You
It
still have
happens all the time.
disadvantage, though."
Yeah, happens all the time.
And if no one reminds me and I remember after the fact, I go, "Oh, right, you should have been rolling with disadvantage."
Mm-hmm.
All right, whatever. What happened. Just in the future, moving forward, remember this.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
wouldn't, if I found out someone were carrying a metric ton of stuff, I wouldn't kill them and say your bag crushes you all of a sudden. I'd just
Right,
be
yeah.
like, all right, you know what? When next you get back to town, let's just say you feel your back pop and walking back to town, you're really sore and uncomfortable. Offload some of your stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And over again, the only group I've ever been in where I've rolled up a new character twice in the same game session. It's not that I was trying to cheat or anything, but tracking that crap is just not fun. Well,
For
for me,
you.
at least. And honestly, what I think
for
is
me at least,
probably
he
the
says.
majority of players. I could be wrong, of course. I didn't poll everyone in the world. In my opinion, carrying capacity rules emphasize realism and complexity.
What is clicking? What is clicking?
Oh, sorry, I'm.
Oh,
Pen.
okay. That was like super loud in my ears. I was just like, what?
I decided recently to give fountain pens a shot. Which is why I got ink all over myself, because that was my
Gotcha.
first time putting an ink cartridge in. And I put it
there you
in
go.
before I left for work today, and it was like, it can take a couple hours to wick down. So
Yeah.
I came back and it wasn't writing, and I went, and then I opened up a box and I'm like, time to remove the ink cartridge and see if I punctured it or not, and I had.
Gotcha.
So some spilled to my hands, and now I'm like messing with the cap because it's got a satisfying weight.
Gotcha. Unfortunately, stream disconnected and then reconnected. I noticed that because my computer was like, "Hey, guess what happened?" So we're back, I think. Happened for just a second, so hopefully everything's okay still. But yeah.
I have
Continue on.
refreshed the stream.
Okay. Yeah, no, it was just like literally OBS had nothing going through it. I was like, oh, and it quite literally disconnected, reconnected. So, yeah, that's new, fun. Anyway,
I'm at least visually watching, and it seems to be a.
Oh yeah.
About a 15-second delay.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that, but let's continue on.
It also
okay.
says you left the watch together room.
Yeah, I'm looking at it and I'm not in it. Hold on.
Yeah, there
I
you
think
go.
my internet
Your
just
internet
died
hiccups.
really quick.
Yeah.
Weird. All right, could you play it so that it's back in the spot?
Do I have to?
Yeah.
Complexity.
Damn
it.
Also, I didn't hear what he said because I was listening to pen clicking.
He said complexity.
Oh, cool. 15 seconds is better than a minute and a half. That's true.
Fun. Me at least. And honestly, what I think is probably the majority of players. I could be wrong, of course. I didn't poll everyone in the world. In my opinion, carrying capacity rules emphasize realism and complexity over game design and ease of play. In a word, it is slow, boring, and complicated.
Ah, yes. Wait, no, hold on. This is a bit.
I guess that's 3 words, but yeah.
Okay. Complicated? No.
No, it's
No.
a bunch of numbers that you add
You
together.
can add
Simple-
23 and 12.
Simple math is not that hard. I'll be the first to say it.
As someone who has a very much love-hate relationship with math, it's not hard
Yeah.
to add things together.
Basic addition is complicated. Oh yeah.
Oh
Apparently, right? Like, this is so much of a thing. Like we encountered this in Puffin's video, unfortunately, right? Like he's just like, you have to add this and this. It's not that complicated. This weights are given, and when they're not, you can give a weight as the DM and then say, okay, just add 1, or add nothing, or add 5. Like it's not difficult to write something down and reference it.
Yeah, Boris is at 76 out of 500 for his backpack, 13.75 on his belt, and 15 for his equipped, for a grand total of, because his backpack melts, 28.75.
Yeah.
Yay.
Like,
wow. So hard.
Right? Like I know Mez has like 30 to 31, I think, in his weight, because he has a total that he can carry of 33 before he's encumbered. And it's just so easy. It's not hard, please. Boring for you, sure.
Yeah, subjectively, I cannot make a claim on that.
Exactly. Like I can't speak on that because I don't find it boring, and that's how we counter that, unfortunately for you. But yeah, I don't know.
Hit him with the no you.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's the reverse card. It's super easy to do.
And another glaring drawback, the time it takes to track it. Unless you're in a virtual tabletop like Fantasy Grounds or have deep enough pockets to afford D&D Beyond, it's a manual process that takes time.
Or a composition notebook.
And a calculator, like your phone that has a calculator on it. The time it takes is a drawback inherently. Okay,
I don't think Actually, no, that's not true. I did make this outside of a session. I did make his gear list out like after a session one night.
Sure. But again, it's still easy to do, right? It doesn't take that much
Oh, yeah.
time. The time factor is not, like, unless you are, I guess, scouring for ancient tomes, unless you're adding, like, 60 items at once, it shouldn't take that long. Agreed, right? Like, you have batches upon batches to put into your character
Yeah.
sheet. Like, I don't know how this
I
is so
I
time-consuming
built
for you.
the entirety of 1, 2, 3 pages double-sided on each that include things like a collection of everything I've got at every single level. So I have basically at all times an audit of what I got when.
Yeah.
Um, feats, all of my magical items, descriptions of what each of those magical items are,
Yeah.
every single skill I have, as well as breakdowns for mods, ranks, feats, and miscellaneous mods if applicable.
Yeah, yeah.
Skills, abilities I can do, plus items I can use, my character sheet, my weapons, and additional abilities in like 3 hours, and half of that was while I was also browsing YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I read slowly, so I take longer in that respect, I guess, but it's still like it takes me an hour or so to make a character sheet. And like you can on the equipment list when you're looking at the equipment, even for the fucking in 5e, it's so easy to look at the backpack and you could just write everything out, or you could just put the weight of it because it gives you the weight. It just gives you the weight of each of the packs and what they contain. It's just there.
Mhm.
You just go boop. Okay, cool. I don't have to look at every individual item. And then again, for every individual item that you do look at, it's right next to it, and you can just write a small 5 or a 6 or a 3 or a 2.
There's a big delicious character backstory box that you probably don't need to read in because or don't need to write in because you probably already know your character's backstory, and
Yeah.
so does your DM, and then that's prime real estate for all your inventory.
And again, turn your sheet over. You have a blank page probably on one of the parts of your sheets.
Mhm.
Like most like or get a notepad on your computer. Your phone
given-
has a notepad option, I assume.
Given that the 5e character sheet is 3 one-sided pages, even if you're printing it double-sided, you will have at least one blank page.
So I'm calling that on your time consumption that you just take forever for no reason. Anyway.
And if your players enjoy using carrying capacity, do you really want to use table time on it? Would you as a dungeon master rather spend game time doing things players enjoy? Like isn't that a better...
What if I enjoy it?
Do I have to spend time as a dungeon master doing it? No. Because typically, right,
Right?
most players aren't talking and doing things 100% of the time at the table. They have time when other people are in the spotlight and they can look over their character sheets and think of either things that they want to do or note take.
Pizza Funk brings up
Or
a good point. Oftentimes in my group, party members would help each other carry stuff.
Yeah.
It kind of
Oh, yeah.
reinforces teamwork.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
I know we've definitely handed
Yeah,
stuff off to each other in previous campaigns, and we definitely did when we were playing Divinity.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We were trying to make sure that we had optimal like weights and stuff for whatever we could carry. Yeah. Like
Because I refuse to go into a dungeon without an oil barrel.
yeah. That's right.
Yeah, and you guys are like, Aiden, like you're not carrying that much. Why are you constantly over encumbered? And I'm looking at the 60-pound oil barrel in my pocket and going, no reason.
I forgot about that.
It's because I can teleport objects. Why would I not like teleport it out of my backpack and over an enemy?
I know, it was such a good tactic. Damn, we
It
need
worked
to finish
so
that
well
game.
in the tutorial when I set that entire staircase on fire that I was like, all right, I just have this as a thing I can do now.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, man.
I miss Divinity.
Yeah, we should should really play that again. So
Should
yeah,
finish it.
we should finish it. Yeah. Yeah. No. So again, I don't understand this, man.
Yep. Roll it forward.
Way to spend the 4 hours that you have? Well, I suppose that if you didn't prepare for the game session, are freaking out, and just need to kill time, then sure, making them add up the weight of everything that they're carrying, see that it's too much, and then spend an hour or so deciding what to get rid of and where to stash it. Yeah, that sounds like some solid busy work you could give your players.
Also sounds like some roleplay you can do. Oh man, so bad.
In fairness, the way that he describes it really does a good job of making it sound like a chore.
Yeah, but it's not that hard to do when you literally just add up the numbers. You look at your thing and go, oh, okay. Then you drop like 2 different things and you're good.
If I were a player in a campaign wherein encumbrance and carry weight were actually a thing, I wouldn't mind every 5 or 6 sessions or so DM saying, all right, guys, inventory audit.
Sure, yeah. Does it even take an hour to do something like that? No, I don't think so. Yeah,
not if you're competent.
Exactly. If you literally have done everything that you need to do in the sense of you've written everything down on your character sheet and you've taken the time because you've been told that you're using the encumbrance system, the only time where I can see you like not being able to do that is when you aren't told that you're supposed to be doing that. And then you go and you look in your book and you have to go and look through every item again at the table because you weren't told. Right? Like that would be shit of your DM to do to you, basically.
Yeah. Just drop it in your lap out of nowhere.
Yeah. So like that's the only time where I see this taking for fucking ever.
And that's why I just say in general, like, don't worry about it for the most part, because you'll probably be fine. But if your character's carrying around a literal dungeon on their back, we're going to start to have problems.
Yeah, in something like 5e, I'm less inclined to use it, but in 3.5 and before, I am more inclined to use it, because there's really good stuff, and I'm not going to let you have so fucking much of it on your person at once, you know?
Mm.
To stall for time. I mentioned that one of the advantages of using carrying capacity is that it incentivizes role-playing. What to carry, where to stash extra, how to protect it, whether to take mules.
You just used where to put it and stuff as a bad thing.
No, well, he used it earlier in the video as a good thing. Where to stash it to keep it safe from thieves.
Yeah. Well, then... So
I think the pendulum is once again swinging back to positive tone.
Okay.
The music isn't as hostile.
All the music has been the same. It's been the same consistently because it's fucking annoyingly royalty free. It's every YouTuber's music that they use.
Stash extra, how to protect it, whether to take mules. But I would question whether that's the best role-playing to incentivize. Like, with a world full of, hopefully, interesting NPCs and exciting locations and dungeons to explore, do we really want to role-play carrying stuff? Like,
implement it with those things.
In a place where the city is full of thieves and known for its scumfuckery, yeah, because it helps add flavor to the city.
Exactly.
Helps makes it feel more alive.
Like you can make it.
I don't know about you, but like I played in a campaign once where there is a starting city called Rogueport, and boy oh boy, were people in that city scumfucks, and we hated that city, and we left it immediately.
I wonder
because
why.
like it, not because we like hated like the world and stuff like that, but just our characters were like, all right, I'm tired of getting pickpocketed, let's go. Like we were laughing about how like fun the city was,
Yeah,
but at the same time our characters are like, I'm tired of being stolen from.
yeah, absolutely.
And there's also the gnome that we accidentally turned his chest into salsa.
There you go.
Let's go.
So yeah, exactly. If you make it a part of a greater role-playing kind of experience, then it's fine, dude. Just like as was stated, make it in a city of thieves. Uh-oh. Where are you gonna put your stuff?
Why are you limiting your own creativity, Mr. DM man?
Oh man.
Like, really? Is that the exciting, amazing game experience Dungeon Masters want to deliver for their players?
Alright, we don't need to keep hampering on this. Like, come on.
Maybe certain players really are proud of their loot and what they've collected and safeguarding it and defending it.
Come on, dude. Let's...
Maybe there is a character sort of similar to a character concept I have where it's a dragonborn, but they start taking up aspects of their draconic parent and have like little hordes of things and are constantly checking in on it.
Sure, yeah. Like, legitimately, it's... And I know you said before that you didn't poll everyone, so you can't be certain about everybody not liking it, but dude, can we at least entertain this and use these examples that we are thinking up off the tops of our heads as examples of how it's not inherently a bad thing? Can we do that,
don't get me
please?
wrong, this is coming from someone who in general doesn't like encumbrance.
Yeah, exactly. Do I need to mention subjectivity again? Exactly, exactly. It's...
Oh yeah, no, don't worry, it's a trend in his videos.
It really is. It's so annoying.
Oh, and one final jab at carrying capacity.
Right.
The rules aren't even that realistic. Like, if one major reason to even do it is to enforce a sense of realism in the game, I feel like we got some work to do. Can I really carry around 100 pounds of bread in my backpack? Like, that would be cool. With some cheese and crackers, some sausage. Oh, I'm hungry now. Crap. And following that line of reasoning leads us to developing even more complex carrying capacity rules, which leads to more tedium and more boring.
Wait, sorry.
Wait, hold on.
Why does this now lead to...
Did he just actually mention the fact that carrying capacity and encumbrance rules aren't realistic, and his only point is that he can't carry 100 pounds? Dude, you can carry a 100-pound backpack. People do it.
Yeah.
All right. You 100% can. I am shocked and appalled though at the fact that you're like, can I really carry 5 short swords in my backpack and 3 long swords and a polearm at my hip? Like, you don't even mention that?
Yeah, I assume you'll mention that soon, I hope, but like, dude, what do you mean? Like, how is it not realistic to hold 100 pounds of bread? Like,
can I really carry 100 pounds of bread? It's like, yeah, find a baker and find out.
Yeah, exactly. You could put it in something that can actually support the weight, then you pick the thing up, and then you carry it.
Yeah,
and also, can we also talk about how, yes, it's not entirely realistic, but it is more realistic than just base raw. Like, that it doesn't need to be 1-to-1. It's not, that's not the point. It helps with realism. You've said it yourself. It helps with the realism, not to make it entirely realistic.
Based on raw, you can carry 36-foot spears, no problem.
Yeah.
Good luck in real life.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what is this point?
That's raw.
And I'd rather not go that route. Different approaches for enforcing carrying capacity.
Oh, okay. Oh, we're just past that. Okay, cool.
Sure.
Yep. All right.
Okay, now
in fairness, to be fair, this is still following the basic outline structure that he has set up, which is he lists advantages, then he lists disadvantages, and then he lists alternate methods.
But he hasn't listed the disadvantage of holding a bunch of like weapons. Like, that's, I don't know.
Well, yeah, because carrying a bunch of weapons was something I mentioned. He can't hear me.
Oh. Yeah, you're right.
Much as I just bash the idea of tracking carrying capacity, I don't totally ignore it in my games. So let's discuss the various ways Dungeon Masters can implement carrying capacity tracking depending on their preferences and their players' preferences. First is the tried and true, play it by the book, add up the weight of everything you're carrying method. Yep, got it. Simple and rules heavy, but it might be right for you.
Simple! Sorry, simple. No.
Shall we scroll back 2 minutes?
Yeah, simple. Simple?
Huh.
Oh, simple, you say. It's very simple, is it? In the same fucking video. In the same fucking video, you immediately contradict what you said.
not even 5 minutes apart. No.
Oh, it's simple, huh? Wow! I had no idea because you made it sound so complicated.
It's simple when we need it to be, Alejo.
Oh, it's conveniently simple only when we need it to be conveniently simple. Oh, my God. What did you even rewatch this?
There's some scripting issues here.
Yeah, did you reread your script? Did you
You smell that?
rewatch this?
Ooh, I smell script.
Oh my God, is it over there? Is that the script? Do I see it? Is that it on the shelf right there? Oh my God. Like, really? You're gonna be so fucking bold. Wow. Okay. Wow, that's not new, but it's definitely a neat one.
Next, at the other end of the gamut is the method I feel many groups use, ignore it completely. Or the Dungeon Master just gives the group a bag of holding very early in the game so they can justify ignoring carrying capacity. But I mean, honestly, what's the point? I think it's perfectly fine for the Dungeon Master to say, you know what guys, tracking carrying capacity really sucks. We're just not going to do it in my game.
You're my most favoriteest Dungeon Master ever. Look, even the old man agrees.
And then somewhere in the
Or, I mean, yeah.
Hey, Alejo, check chat, or not stream chat, but
Yeah. There you go. There you are, everyone. Have a face. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I
me
mean,
and the boys at 2 a.m. looking for forest fruits.
like, okay, so again, yeah, if your group doesn't want to do it, then your group doesn't want to do it, and that's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
the middle of those two extremes is what I personally like to use. Just
Sorry. No, never mind.
be reasonable. No,
There we go.
I'm not
Yep.
going to make you track how many rations and copper pieces you're carrying.
Why?
And I don't care if you have a collection of 5 great...
Wait. Sorry. What if you don't let me wait, oh, he's getting to something. Wait. But let me, before he gets to that, because he just said great swords, I think. So before he gets to that, why would it not matter how many one more subjectivity into Minecraft Steve? Yeah, those are the extremes. So again, like,
Actually, did I mention Minecraft Steve earlier?
yeah, you did. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I know I thought it.
no, you actually said it this time. You're good. So if you don't track how many copper pieces they have, like, usually, right, money doesn't have weight in
Yeah,
general.
I don't treat money as having weight.
So, like, I don't understand why you would even bring that up. But if people are tracking money weight, then okay.
For hyperbole.
Oh, but then rations? Why
Rations have
rations?
weight.
Yeah, rations have weight, but, like, they also are for traveling. So if you keep track of the rations, you gotta
mean,
eat
it's-
those. So if you, it's not that it's not that hard to go. Oh, they're all a pound each, or 2 pounds, I think it is. I don't remember.
Yeah, 2 yes, 2 pounds.
Yeah. 2 pounds each. I eat one. Oh, I'm 2 pounds lighter. Wow, that's not that hard. And also,
But I don't want to have to adjust my weight every single day because it's hard now.
oh my god,
because
it's hard now,
convenient-
is it?
Because it's convenient for it to be hard.
Oh my god. Anyway, let's hear about great swords because I'm excited.
Oh, yum.
a collection of 5 great swords just for fun. However, if you start looting
Oh, that's just a part of the thing that you're.
let him
No,
finish.
no.
his sentence.
He that was a part of the first sentence. The first part of the sentence was he's not going to care if you have 5 great swords.
Yes, I know, but I
Oh.
want to hear how bad it gets.
Okay.
every single suit of armor from every single bad guy, I might start asking how you can possibly carry around 37 suits of plate mail. I'm sure I've had players that have done that before. And then I realized it and I was like, huh?
Oh,
like-
wait. Hold on. That was a phase.
Oh no, don't give me that one. So before So what's the limit on your plate mail options? Because 37 is too much. What's your lower limit? I need to know. Is it 1? Is it 2?
25.
Is it 3? Is it 4? Is it 5? Like, come on. When does it get ridiculous that you have both five great swords?
5 great swords alone. I'd be
and-
like, why don't do you have like? Are you gonna maybe purchase a custom scabbard in town or
Like,
something?
How
Let's talk about the fact that you're carrying 50 pounds on your hip all day.
exactly, right? Like how does that not matter?
Pulls up chair, sits down in it backwards. Let's talk.
Let's have a conversation. Yeah, no, again, that matters. I don't. Okay.
How you can carry around 37 suits of plate mail. I'm sure I've had players that have done that before.
There we go.
And then I realized it and I was like, ah.
Yeah, there we go.
I'll just lean Jesus Christ.
When the forest fruits hit too hard.
Nice, good thing. Ugh.
And they were like, yeah, this is pretty unreasonable. Or
Oh.
if you come across
It's unreasonable. And once you noticed it was unreasonable, I see. Okay, good to know. That's how your players operate.
a library full of hundreds of ancient, priceless books, I might question how the heck you plan to carry a library on your back. But as long as we don't reach the
Fair.
absolute extremes of ridiculosity, I really don't care. I'm going to
Why would you say ridiculosity and not ridiculousness? That's just unnecessary.
Alejo? Alright. Alejo?
Yeah.
We've delved into a lot of stuff tonight
Yeah.
in this video.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to bother with that one.
That's fine. I just wanted to say I'm new to the
We've covered-
channel.
We've broken worse ground.
That's true. I'm new to the channel. Do you guys watch this guy often? Sounds like you're either torturing yourselves or constantly laughing. Often enough.
Yes, and yes.
Yeah, often enough that the answer is yes.
So we try to cover a variety of channels.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, given that the nature of what we do is focused more on critiquing, we find ourselves unfortunately drawn to some more questionable content, which is more likely to crop up on certain more questionable channels.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if something's a good video, we're rarely going to watch it.
Yeah, because it doesn't need us.
The only time there was the exception was when I wanted to show off that one guy's video who had like 78 subscribers or something, and like we have more than that, and I wanted to send people over, because fucking cool.
Like, if Matt Mercer said something stupid, I'd absolutely critique the hell out of him.
Oh,
for it.
absolutely.
But here's the thing, though, is he doesn't.
He doesn't usually, no. I haven't seen him, so.
Yeah, we are one host short tonight because one of us has corona. Ooh,
I already
topical.
Talked about that. I already talked about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, don't worry.
And he's really not a fan of this channel.
No, yeah, he would be very upset. Which is why, you know what? I'm glad I did it now when he can't be on.
Yep.
I've given him
he
a
needs
mercy.
to rest his voice, and he's
Yep.
not going to do that if he's busy screaming.
Exactly.
So yeah, we all have our own particular channels that we tend to dislike a bit more than others.
focus our game time on things that are actually fun for us all. And counting beans does not lie within the realm of what I, or most other players for that matter, consider to be fun. So we're not gonna do it.
Most is not all. Also,
Well,
I've given you a face.
nah.
Okay. All right.
But again, though, we literally were talking about tonight, like when I made the claim of most players probably don't like this. I don't even remember what the point was at this point, but
I know.
So if
But
I can make
you also recognize that
most,
most is not all.
and so does he when he said I haven't polled everyone.
That is true. Then. You're right.
He does it a bit facetiously and a little bit what would be the term? Flippantly.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Fair. I'll retract.
Now, another approach besides just adding up weight is to use a system specially designed for tracking carrying capacity, such as my revised carrying capacity rules. The gist of my system is that only heavier things are tracked, and you use slots to carry items. The number of small, medium, and large slots you get are determined by your strength score, and all characters have a base number of slots to ensure they don't get totally screwed. My goal with this system was to give dungeon masters and players a way to track carrying capacity in as simple a way as possible and not have it be too rules heavy or burdensome for the players. I spent
the original one isn't too rules heavy or burdensome, but okay.
The last few months playtesting and tweaking the rules, and I think they're at a good point for you all to use if you're interested. They are available as pay what you want on DriveThruRPG, so you can download them for free at no risk if you want to check them out. Link below.
Okay, give me a
All right, you know what?
I'm
Very cash money of you.
that's pretty.
Before you see a room.
Let me click that quick. Before I go hit that, because I do want to look at it first.
Should you track capacity? Now, look, as much as I just bashed tracking it, there isn't necessarily a right answer here. Ultimately, the overriding question is this: does tracking carrying capacity and encumbrance enhance the overall gaming experience for your group? What's the style of the game? A gritty survival game that emphasizes resource management, or a Monty Hall game where the characters are powerful heroes? What do the players prefer? What does the DM prefer? These are all important considerations for the Dungeon Master before deciding how to do this. If the answer is yes, tracking carrying capacity does enhance our overall gaming experience, then consider doing it. And if the answer is a resounding no, then feel free to take a pass. Don't forget to follow me over on Twitch for
okay. Yeah, fair. Good ending thing there. I'm glad that you said it.
Really, it was pretty much the only possible valid ending.
Yeah, exactly. If I'm glad that it ended that way, because otherwise I would have been like, what? Okay, good. Well, yeah, that was DM Lair. as is how it usually goes.
That was DM Lair, guys. Make sure to go check out Shadiversity.
Yeah. I'm gonna download his thing, because he said that you can do it for free, and because he said that I can do it for free.
Kindly share it on screen so that I don't have to also download it for free.
Exactly right. Good ending on a video full of totally objective and equal arguments.
I agree.
You're gonna fit in just fine here. Alright. Gotta log into my DriveThruRPG. It's not showing. Okay, cool. Yeah, confirm order. I've done this for Cody, I've done this for you. I'm so excited. Download the PDF. There's a V2. V3? Wait. Oh, inventory sheets V2. Revised carrying capacity rules V3. Okay, so one of them's just a sheet. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, probably just like made the sheet and then made it a bit better.
I'm not gonna download it. It's another sheet. Whatever. There are many custom sheets out there. Okay, so revised carrying capacity. Oh my god. Okay. Let me zoom in, dude. Yep. What you'll find here. Okay. Rules. What to track. For simplicity's sake, characters only track items that weigh over 1 pound. Everything that weighs 1 pound and under is not tracked as far as carrying capacity goes.
Isn't that what
how it works, isn't it? Oh no, there's some point found. There's some point found.
Yeah, there are just some things that you don't weigh.
Yeah, exactly.
I believe Call of Cthulhu does something similar, where anything under 5 pounds, they just don't worry about it.
Maybe. It's been a while since I looked at the rules.
Yeah, I know I played a system once where there was a lot of stuff I had that it was just free, and I was looking at a page worth of stuff, and I was like, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so slots. These rules use the idea of slots to track how much a PC can carry. One item and only one item can go into a slot. Okay. For instance, if you have a small slot, you can place a longsword in it. The slot is full. Nothing else can be placed in it, even though a small slot can hold an item up to 5 pounds. and a longsword weighs less than that. Huh. Standard slots. All characters, regardless of strength, are able to carry a basic amount of equipment referred to as their standard slots. Excuse me. Every character has the following standard slots: backpack, armor worn, melee weapon, and ranged weapon. Okay, and I assume we'll just talk about those. Small, medium, large slots. All characters receive additional slots of these 3 sizes based on their strength modifiers. Makes sense. Characters with higher strength receive more slots and vice versa. Characters can place objects into these slots based on the below rules. Large slot. This slot can hold something weighing over 10 pounds and up to 75 pounds.
Oof.
Wow. Large slot. A large slot is equivalent to 3 medium slots or 15 small slots.
Okay.
Can I break them up? I guess.
No, I don't believe so, given the fact that it is a slot. And it
sucks.
and he also says that nothing else can be placed in it, even though a small slot can hold an item up to 5
True.
pounds and a long sword weighs less than that. So no.
So medium slots, this slot can hold something weighing over 5 pounds and up to 10 pounds, while the jump seems to have been small. Weird. Where X is the weight of the enemy. Yeah. Medium slot is equivalent to 5 small slots. Small slot. This slot can hold something weighing over 1 pound up to 5 pounds. Okay. Tiny items. Things weighing 1 pound and under. Sorry.
1 pound.
Okay, yeah. Over 1 pound is the other one. Okay, yeah. 1 pound and under. Yeah. Sorry, I was just making sure that was correctly formatted. Are not tracked. Conversion rates. A large slot is... There is conversion. A large slot is equivalent to 3 medium slots or 15 small slots.
No, there's conversion up.
Gotcha.
Small slots can become large, but a large can never become smalls. Or you can use a bunch of smalls as a large, or a bunch of mediums as a large.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah. None of these conversion rates are wait. So a large slot is equivalent to 3 medium slots or 15 small slots. A medium slot is 5 small slots. Note that these conversion rates are not intended to be realistic. They're intended to promote ease of use. Okay. Coins and gems. Coins and gems do not count against characters' carrying capacity. Yes, coins are very heavy and can get bulky when carried in amounts that adventurers often carry, but nobody does that, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Carrying stuff over 75 pounds. Carrying something over 75 pounds costs 2 large slots per 75 pounds of the thing being carried. Okay. Table shows how many additional slots small and medium characters receive based on their strength modifier. Okay.
Wait. Hold on.
Yeah.
Does that mean if I'm carrying something that's 80 pounds, it takes 2 large slots?
Yes.
Okay.
So lower strength scores, you get no additional... No, I'm sorry. If you're at -2, you get 3 small slots. If you're at -3, you get 2. -4, you get 1. -5, you get 0.
I'm still waiting for stream to update.
Yeah. Here, I'll even... There we go.
It still has small, medium, and large at the very bottom of the page.
Yeah.
There we go.
So... Yeah. Oh, okay. So with a +1, you get 10 small slots and 1 large slot and 5 medium slots. I don't know why I went in that order, but and that goes up by 5 for every
1, 2, 3.
+1 you have. Strength. It goes up by 2, but by 1 every other.
10, 15,
Okay.
20. Wow, it really takes off. It goes from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30.
Yeah. Yeah, also... Yeah, okay. Wagons... Oh, see, vehicles have their own slots, and they are only large slots. Interesting. Wait a minute. Creatures such as... for mounts, creatures such as horses, mules, or even... giant lizards have strength scores listed in the core rulebooks, thus they receive the slots based on their strength modifiers. Okay. Vehicles Vehicles such as wagons and carts have a certain number of large slots that can be converted to medium and small slots as desired.
Okay, good.
Okay.
I was gonna say it seems a bit weird that I can only hold 20 vials of
Exactly.
acid in a cart
Yeah.
when crates exist.
Yeah. Most vehicles require animals, typically horses, to draw them along. Small vehicles such as sleds and carts only require one, such as a horse to draw them. Large vehicles require 2 large animals to draw them. That's just how those work. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's simple enough, and it's not that bad. Yeah. Honestly, if you want to use that, I would say it's fine. It's fucking, you know, just another way to do it.
No, it's perfectly functional.
It's another way to do it, and it's even easier than the easy way that it already is.
Except for when it's not.
Except for when it's not easy at all.
Except for when my point is easier if it's hard.
I hate that so much. It's such ugh. Yeah, okay. Well, that's that. And I think that'll be it for us for tonight. We've gotten about 4 hours. Yeah, cool. So yeah. Hope you all enjoyed. It's been fun.
Great having you guys here to ask questions.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been good to have the little banter that we've had. And for those of you out there who are listening right now, hey, you can do this too. Come to the stream. It's gonna be on Tuesdays at a nebulous time later in the evening on Eastern Coast.
Who was the guy that asked us if realism was the same as immersion? Because that's a good question.
That was let's see, up here. I believe that was Pizza Funk. Yeah, that's Pizza Funk.
Pizza Funk? Yeah. Good question.
Good question.
I really like that because it made me think.
Yeah. So, yeah. Thanks again for listening and stuff. I'll be paying more attention to this podcast in the future. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
Good. But yeah, other than that, check the links in the description for all of the things. If you haven't joined the Discord yet, do so. You know, we post this. We'll now be doing this live on Tuesdays at around 9 p.m. It might be earlier, it might be later. Depends on how things go. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then it'll be posted first on YouTube again at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fridays. If you miss anything, you want to watch it again or something, or show somebody else, who knows? And the audio only stuff will be on Mondays, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Will we also be broadcasting Devils and Dice as it happens?
No, not Devils and Dice. Maybe future ones, but not Devils and Dice.
Is it because the Thursday time slot interferes with Critical Role?
No, I just no. That's not it at all. Actually, I completely forgot they existed. Honestly,
no, I actually only remembered it was on Thursdays.
Gotcha.
10 seconds ago.
But yeah, as is on the screen itself, at your convenience, you can find us on your podcasting service of choice, and there are links there that you can find in the description. And don't forget to leave us feedback and all that. Yeah, that'll do it for us. Oh
yeah.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Bye now.
Goodbye.
Oh, bye.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thanks for asking questions.
Yeah, thank you.
See you soon, and hopefully next time.
Mm-hmm.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.